Hello everyone and welcome back to the semifinal stages of the PUBG Mobile Club Open. We're in day number 3 of 6 here and it's been an exciting tournament so far, Trid.
About to enter that halfway mark of the semifinals. 24 teams looking to secure the top 16 positions to get themselves to our regional finals. We're going to finish off week 1 and then they're going to do it all over again next week. Finally, to finish it off, we got groups B versus C to finish out our first leg of this round robin competition.
And it should be a good one. Let's go ahead and take a look at our standings so far here throughout the semifinal stage. Well, here's your bottom 8 teams, some teams that might need to feel a little bit of pressure coming into their next few games over the next few days. Lations Unidos at the very bottom there with 12 points, but they have a few people joining them in that situation.
Yeah, we saw one team in particular as we scroll up the standings have a monumentous final game and get themselves back on the board and get themselves some easy points to start climbing their way up the ladder. But as we get into our top 8, you can see the real top contenders. Spacestation Gaming currently sat at the top of 173 points. Guess whose time it is to shine again? It is Misfits Gaming. They're going to be out here playing again today, looking at those 8 matches and reclaim that top spot.
Yeah, I think Misfits, Lights Out, and Wildcard have a pretty good opportunity today to climb up those leaderboards and, well, give the boys that played yesterday a run for their money. Let's pop into the schedule, though, and see how things have been progressing over the course of this weekend. You can see the map lineup, who's been the victors of those respective maps, but focus here on day number 3. We're going to be kicking it off right now with a match on Vikendi, and then moving on to the jungles of Sanhok. You didn't see it yesterday, but it has made its resurgence here in day number 3.
And of course, a double helping of Erangel. We love to see it. And we got Vikendi, like we said, to kick things off. Let's have a look at a head-to-head to watch out on this map number 1. It is 2 people who shared a group in our group stage. It's Misfits going up against Wildcard, and they are ready to throw hands and try and knock each other away from that top spot, which is going to become available with today's set of games.
Certainly, look at the kills, very close. I mean, not a large disparity. Certainly both powerhouses in terms of where they sit in this lobby. All eyes, though, are going to be on these 2 teams in particular here in game number 1 to see if they have those fiery breakout performances that we're used to seeing from them.
Let's get ready to set up for Vikendi. And if this is your first time tuning into PUBG Mobiles, particularly in America, we'll give you a heads up on what to expect with our circles. We're going to move very slowly, not really any shifts. We mentioned it, they were pretty much nudges at this point. Playing around, yeah, trademark now, officially, by him.
And you. No, you.
No, but you're my legal representation then, okay? We'll do it like that. But it's going to be nudged closer into the center. It's typically going to be quite a muted game until we get into the later stages. That's when the hard shifts start to come in. You're going to see a lot of people panicking to get some prime real estate in that center circle and play out from there.
Yeah, on Vikendi, we saw teams really favored if they bombed center early on. They didn't have to make those movements that the teams that rode the edge had to make. And well, the teams that rode the edge, Trid, they got absolutely destroyed. They were able to survive, sure, but so was everyone else that was inside of the circle. So keep your eyes on that if teams favor the edge play. Whatever they want to do here, it's certainly going to be interesting. The group stages have transitioned now into the semifinal stages where the competition has become a little bit more fierce.
Has become a little bit more fierce, but people are still reeling from a performance that Misfits put out on this map in the group stage, hoping to do it all over again. We're finally going live, we're up in the skies, we're jumping into Vikendi.
And here we are, plane path coming out of that eastern part of Vikendi and heading down towards the southwest. Again, not going to be dissecting the map in half here, favored towards the southern region of the map, but a 6x6 map won't be incredibly difficult for teams to find a loot location that fits their needs or suits their strategy.
Particularly south of Relay, what we usually see, most teams opt to go for the western side of Vikendi, play around that northern territory. You can already see a lot of teams on that trajectory to head up to the northern area. Not many teams opting for the south right now. You can see Lights Out, Seagull, and Lucifer playing pretty neutral. They're probably going to drop off in that southern location, but this huge wave of teams heading up to the north could pose some difficulties if they start dropping on each other and don't start fanning out.
Yeah, the eastern side of Vikendi has been an interesting, at least, area of the map. Not a lot of large priority loot locations, which doesn't really draw a lot of team presence here. The centralized area of the map, though, well, you can see it. It's a cluster, and phase number 1 is popped. Going to be centering up, essentially right up on top of Tovar, a little bit west of where the castle lies. So a different circle, I think, that we've seen entirely so far in the tournament as it relates to Vikendi.
We typically see them going over to the northeast. To have a southwest one on Vikendi is a pleasant surprise for us, probably not for the teams participating. As you can see, they're all in that northeast cluster pretty much, and when they start making those rotations, you're going to have difficulty. But speaking of congestion, have a look at this area right here. Method, Wildcard, and Ignite goal, but it's Ace taking the first casualty, knocked to the knees by HQA, and there comes the first flush, only moments into the landing.
Yeah, that's an engagement popping off down in Winery at the far southern region of the map. Polar Ace Esports and HQA finding themselves landing at least very close to one another, closer than either of these teams would have liked. And again, on Vikendi, there's no sense in essentially making a power play for a location. A lot of spots are going to be open for you. This is just going to be an unfortunate circumstance unless Polar Ace Esports can turn it around on the aggressors, HQA.
And another flush coming in onto Method this time. I like what HQA have done though. Ace Dilly, he needs to be really careful right now. They can just pinch him, but there's some shots coming across from Shakes onto Kiwang. He's going to have to take cover and maybe not go as aggressively, but Dilly's still in the danger zone because HQA can just fold into him and there won't be much he could do about it.
It's interesting seeing this helicopter view of this area of the map because you can see Zyphon is almost in a similar situation to Dilly, and certainly his other three teammates are either trying to call him back to the squad or trying to get over to him. Both teams, though, feeling the pressure from each other in trying to execute this strategy or trying to at least save this early game without taking too much in terms of losses along the way. Dilly continues, though, to just hold silently. He doesn't want to expose himself and doesn't necessarily have a lot to work with. He's got the tier 3 helmet. Sure, that's going to be great, but no vest to his name. A shotgun, a micro Uzi will absolutely rip through him.
So this is just the one thing to point out as well. Across the map, Lights Out have fanned out across this eastern coast. And this is usually what they do on Vikendi. But the eastern side isn't nearly as populated as it is, so while these players are basically operating as 4 different solo operators, it poses the risk of running into another squad. G6 is right on top of outside of 9K, and it could all go wrong if he finds him. Gonna have some shots traded, and another knock across the map. HQ is still trying to find it. Unnamed brought to their knees already.
Another team that we see engaged in early game conflicts, likely because of where they end up dropping, and it's the same story here. Shoot to Win will be spotting out Raven, getting a quick knock on him, but thankfully Unnamed has a buffer zone to work off of, the window of opportunity to pick up the res, but the pressure continues to fly out from that eastern side of this Garoka area. I mean, it's a tough area to play around because of how many buildings. You can sure get those knocks, you can get the pressure, but being able to secure the kills is a whole nother story, and Shoot to Win is feeling that right now.
We're going to hear the footsteps moving around, just repositioning around this Garoka area, and Unnamed all jumping into a vehicle. They're just going to bug out of here. They don't like this one bit. So they're going to extract away from Garoka and hand the keys all the way into the pockets of Shoot to Win.
Blue Zone will be encroaching on phase number 1 in just about another minute and a half's time, and so these teams have to at least start to worry. If you're on the far edges, if you're outside of the zone, well, certainly now is the time to bomb in. We see teams, again, favored time after time when they make those early rotations on this map. But Polar Ace Esports and HQA will continue to face off in a bit of a battle, not necessarily a full squad-on-squad engagement, but Polar Ace Esports continues to feel the hurt from this. Another member will be going down. Pro DJ going to be spotted out, but it looks like Shake has spotted someone. A quick fire comes from Yefe with the UMP and finds another connection. That's going to be 3 down now, just Dilly on his feet for the members of Polar Ace.
And they're probably telling Dilly to just get his legs and start sprinting away, because there's no way he can come in and salvage this one. He's a solo player against 4. Not looking good for him. He has to try and escape here rather than go for the reses onto Shakes and try now to play for placement for Polar Ace Esports. They do not want to be going out in 16th, because that nets you exactly 0 points.
Incredibly unfortunate for Polar Ace Esports, but fortunate in the sense that Dilly was spread out from the other 3 members of that squad, and this is what allows him to now make that disengage. He was spotted. You saw a few shots coming out from HQA during the retreat, but he's going to be okay. And he's running through this building essentially to say, please, please, please give me a vest. I need that much needed armor before I go in, but HQA, they're not letting up. They know which way Dilly disengaged, and they want that final kill onto the members of Polar Ace.
Yeah, why settle for 3 points when you can take 4 fill? And they're already taking shots at Dilly. They know exactly where he is. They're just spraying in there already. There's 4 of them. They could just bum rush that house, and there's nothing Dilly could do about it.
But I have to ask, how much time is HQA wasting in trying to chase down this kill? Again, early rotations. That's the name of the game here on Vikendi. At some point, they have to stop chasing and just cut their, well, essentially, not necessarily
They're not going to cut their losses. While they still have a beat on Dilly, there's no point in stopping the chase now. They've still got LOS on him, and they're getting the shots off. There's just one more push should be able to do it. Dilly's going to try and go here for some kind of flush, I imagine. Just try to get something. He goes for Michael, nearly gets the flush out of it. He actually gets the... Oh! He gets away with the flush as well, so he salvages it. That's terrible for HQA. They should never have let that happen.
No, should never let that happen. Exactly right. HQA played that a little bit too aggressively, albeit they come out on top, wiping out our first team here. Polar Ace Esports in 16th position, but they lost Michael along the way. Michael has been an impact player for this HQA squad over the course of the last day. Well, they've only played 1 day here. So, you know, again, it's unfortunate. Maybe HQA is going to be happy with this, but they have to now continue on 1 man down. and they have to worry about these rotations coming out as more and more teams up to the far north have to worry about those rotations also. Method, you saw them in the kill feed taking a few casualties. They're going to have to adjust off of this and possibly take on a new strategy as they enter into the mid game.
I talked about the risk that what Lights Out were doing, and they went unpunished for the most part. They now mounted up into a 2-2 split in vehicles and are working their way just north of Podvosto into that circle from the northeast. So a risky strategy, unpunished by the rest of the teams, as everyone's starting to migrate into that circle. Wildcard and Silent Killers basically sharing dead center right now, as others are just trying to get the edge positions or at least get themselves into that next circle.
And this is a rotation from Wildcard right here. The Silent Killers had been center circle for quite some time, but Wildcard, they obviously knew that there was a priority on getting into center circle as fast as possible rather than have executed. Other teams, though, trying to do the exact same thing. VN1's Lucas on the snowmobile, his teammates in tow, will be bombing from north to south to try to enter into the northeastern side of this circle. But again, you have to wonder what teams are already going to be there. Are they going to face off against some resistance? They're certainly rolling up on the backside of Wildcard right now.
No, VN1, please be careful. You're about to get sprayed down if you go over this hill. Need to be very careful. As he's walking around the side, he's definitely given an audio cue for them to have a look. You can see Illusion's reposition, go for a couple of shots. Immediately, Lucas turns to get as far away as possible. Takes a couple of shots, but he will not be knocked.
Losing a lot of, at least a lot of the armor on the helmet. It's essentially in the red now. His level 3 vest taking significant amount of damage as well. Lucas able to escape with his life and the information that there is already a team inside there on the eastern side of Tovar. Pittsburgh Knights, though, making that rotation as well. One of our teams that landed as far north as possible, essentially the coast just off of Cosmodrome, will be trying to make their way down. 7 in the vehicle by himself. It looks like the Pittsburgh Knights are going to be at least fine in this rotation. They're not putting all of their eggs into one basket. Each player has a separate vehicle to diversify the risk of the transition.
Yeah, they're wrapping around by Revenants, who I think are more interested in getting into that zone than fighting someone right now. So they're going to walk away with this VN1. Lucas pulled up into a building, and he's got Misfits right next to him. That's not a squad you want in the same territory as you, my friend. But it looks like they're going to jump in that vehicle, start leaving. He's priming a grenade, trying to get it over there. Might not line that up in time to get any kills from it. Misfits will walk away from this one, conceding that ground to VN1.
They're going to be hearing that grenade as well, so certainly Misfits thankful in that rotation. But they bombed center circle. They landed on the far western coast. Misfits, again, you might say, man, Misfits always get the circle, but no, this time they're taking it into their own hands, and they're going to be posturing as best as possible for the mid-game Phase 2, Phase 3 transitions, and then hopefully when we start to see a little bit more than a nudge, the hard shifts that exist from Phase 4 and onward.
They're going to be able to get a little bit cozy here, Phil. They just need to jump into the house and add some amenities to it, maybe stock the cupboards while they're at it, because there's a couple of phases to go, so have to be pretty decisive about where they're going to put up their feet and rest around for the next couple of phases. Hopefully it's something they can easily fortify in case someone maybe wants to upgrade in those relaxed phases, shall we call them, before, like we keep alluding to, the hard shifts come in, and then that's when the real problems begin. Lations Unidos managed to carve themselves out of territory on the edge of the circle, but like we say, that'll probably change in the next couple of phases.
You know, those relaxed phases that you talked about, Tritter, are actually kind of interesting and almost worth talking a little bit about. Some of these teams see no action whatsoever for the first 2 to 3 phases of this game. And in doing so, well, and not doing so, rather, not engaging in those battles, they might become a little bit complacent. They might not be watching those flank positions as carefully as they should be. So keep your eyes on that as well. Some of the teams that haven't had to move, haven't had to put out any pressure shots whatsoever. But over here, we've got Lights Out looking at the likes of Team Unnamed. As more and more squads are making the transitions. Method going to be joined by the Revenants. Vigilante leading the charge. Espinoza and Tanker right behind him. And, well, it looks like some of the teams here might be pulling off to this building before they encroach any further on their enemies.
They've definitely spotted out Method there. They may not know exactly that it's that particular team, but they know someone's in front of them driving around. Need to chase them up now. And actually, Lopez has sprayed down Everfury, so there's a couple more people waiting on the road. So a couple of highwaymen to maybe deter them from further aggression. Weird cross there. Watch out for your teammates, Espinoza. You don't want to be getting into this one, but you can see in front of them, there's Pittsburgh Knights. They've looped around and somehow they've met each other in this circle. Immediately, Revenants take a detour. They do not want any of that.
Ooh, both of those teams are lucky. Both cars stalled. They could have popped out and had an engagement, but it's going to be Method that ends up taking the losses from this transition. G-Bay popped out of the Dacia, will be flushed out of the game by the members of Shoot to Win. No other help in sight from the members of Method. They're not even going to be engaging off of this, cutting their losses entirely and trying to continue on here in game number 1 of the week.
couple more shots coming off over in the northeast. You can see all that action on your map right now. It's lights out and unnamed trading shots as Lations Unidos and Ignite Gold looking to come into the circle. This is the next phase being popped, and like we said, doesn't affect too many of the teams, just the ones who decided to play Edge as they migrate into the newly formed circle. Lights out, maybe playing Gatekeeper on that northeast side. They need to be conscious of Unnamed right to the south of them. They've got two squads coming in from a direction they should be able to cover.
Yeah, BlindedByWin, HQA down to the south, Lations Unidos, and Ignite up to the north. They're essentially your edge teams for this game, but Lights Out continued to at least engage in a firefight with the members of Unnamed. Lights Out already saw one knock at the hand of a bolt-action sniper rifle, but they were able to pick up the res. Lucifer remains alive, and well, so is Memo. So they continue to at least hold on to this elevated position. The high ground certainly to be had, but a lot of room separates these two squads, and that's why you saw the bolt-action come into play from Unnamed.
As Lucifer will just be the person to keep an eye on them. Right side of 9K, trying to get into a better position to create a line of attack for them to use and keep Unnamed at bay while the others are still looking around that compound at the other side. Sin taking pop shots. He's got the silencer on that rifle, the boot. That makes him even more lethal. If they lose track of him, not going to be able to track where the shots are initially coming from unless they get vision of him.
There's one sound in this game that rivals the AWM when you hear it, and that's the suppressed M24. An unsuppressed M24, well, that's great, but put a suppressor on it, and boy, does that gun scare the living daylights out of people. But someone that also is a little bit scared right now is going to be Kwang. He's taking a lot of damage to his person and also his vehicle, smoking, about to explode. He quickly pops out. This is HQA coming off of that dominant stranglehold that they had on Polar Ace Esports down to the far south near the winery. But they've since moved on, picking up those 4 kills in the process. But again, losing Michael. Only 3 remain for the squad.
It was dominant but costly a squad. Remember, they still lost out on one member, Michael, going down when he really shouldn't have. So they are playing as a 3-man squad right now. It's good of them to get a more central location in the Abbey. And you can see G6, Misfits, and BN1 all in the area around them. They're the immediate threats to them as the rest of the teams are further north.
Blue Zone, though, going to be closing in on phase number 2, and a few small, minor, but deadly repositions now start to come out. Yifei Quang trying to meet up with Zyphon as they pull off to a shelter of their own, but Wildcard is now spotted out Unnamed. Again, remember, Unnamed was engaged with Lights Out, but they found another dominant squad here in this lobby. Wildcard, Illusions, M16 will be trying to tap down the vehicle that Sin is currently next to. So try to whittle down your opponent whatever way you can, disable their vehicles, try to prevent any easy rotations coming out.
Sin was able to jump in the vehicle there and move it into cover to protect that vehicle. So Unnamed have plans for it for the remainder as they move that behind the building out of sight of Wildcard, who are on a high ground position looking over this next compound. Next phase is about to pop. We don't expect any more shenanigans. Everyone's already in the circle. So another one of these relaxed phases. BlindedByWin, they're going to have to make that rotation up there, but there's still plenty of space to play with for now.
Yeah, even a hard shift in Vikendi on phase number 3 is not necessarily a shift. A hard shift, guys, if you don't understand what that term necessarily means, it's essentially as close to the blue zone as the edge of the circle can get. When you see it essentially touching, that is a hard shift. BlindedByWin will be affected by that. The only team, as you said, Trid, that will have to make that rotation from south to north. And will they be able to find an empty compound to take hold in? I think that's the biggest question on everyone's mind, as they are the only team making the transition. Silent Killers, though, inside of a compound of their own, look in the direction of the Pittsburgh Knights. Pot shots coming out, but essentially just letting them know that we have a neighbor and they're not going to be friendly.
Well, they may be able to find a compound. Whether it's unoccupied or not is a different story, especially on the first attempt, but BlindedByWin, it appears they're just going to be playing the edge this game. They realize they're coming into this party late and they don't want to take any chances. So they'll bide their time and try and play the standings and hopefully be able to third-party engagement when things start to pop off.
And that's the tough part about playing edge, right? You try to bide your time, but other teams are staying alive by virtue of them not having to move, not having to force these engagements in the center of the circle. So keep your eyes on BlindedByWin. Are they going to be able to execute on the strategy that requires them to do so when they play edge? They're going to have to take these engagements as they meet teams inching their way inwards, but they have to also come up on top of that engagement without losing too much in the process. And they're already going to be at least starting to think about moving as Wood pops into the car. Another dossier for them to work off of as well. So all things considered, BlindedByWin is not in a bad position.
They're going to start to maybe look to rotate out of this one nice and early as they're all mounting up now for Squire. They're going to be leaving that edge compound. If they head more central, they're going to hit a cluster of teams. You've got Misfits, G6, VN1, and HQA all in the immediate area occupying those compounds. If they don't crash into that particular compound, they will be spotted out by at least one of those teams and give away valuable information knowing that they have to make a rotation with a team on their backs.
Looking here right now at some of our teams that have been centralized, at least for the better part of the entirety of the game. Wildcard now at least sending Ranger and Rain up onto the high ground, onto the mountain to try to soak up some information. Not sure if they've been able to get eyes on the members of Pittsburgh Knights off on the horizon, working their way in just to the southwest of where the members of Silent Killers are currently holding, but it becomes more and more crowded as we continue on. And if it's anything like the ending of yesterday's Vikendi match, or the day before yesterday's Vikendi match, it's going to be kind of chaotic, especially for the likes of Wildcard and Silent Killers that'll have to maneuver around this tricky terrain and have to watch multiple different lines of sight.
Next circle is moving in as well. Everyone's already in the new area, so nothing to worry. No one's been chased by the blue as of yet. But I expect the next circle to force some rotations out of these teams' hands and maybe put them into the line of sight of multiple enemies. As we can see, Misfits, well, say different buildings for all of them in this compound they got for themselves. Looking out towards G6 on the horizon for them. Should be able to deal with them quite handily should they aggress. We're just waiting for phase number 4 to pop on this one and potentially force some engagements.
I like the strategy that Misfits is playing off of right now. Probably one of the not one of the only teams, but probably one of the few teams that can absolutely say that we are confident in all 4 of our individuals' ability to take on fights. And that's what you see there in that compound. No one's going to be able to provide direct support to one another. And when you see Revenants in a similar position, another strong team as it comes into engagements, but they have to worry about their placements as they continue on here through the semifinal stages. Lights Out still posturing on the at least northern side of where Revenants are currently holding, and a nice crate drops at the feet of the members of Lights Out.
That's a really early rotation from Lations Unidos, so they've gone straight into shoot to win. It's all gone wrong for them. I love the proactivity coming out from them. They had mounted up and were ready to go as soon as that circle popped, but unfortunately they ran straight into the lethal arms of shoot to win as their first port of call. So they're giving over a vehicle and a lot of loot to this team, and they're in a good position now to restock themselves and potentially look towards the future, getting into the top 10, maybe even top 5 in this match.
Well, another team that has to look forward to the future and looks at least towards the future, and maybe not so much looking forward to it, is Lations Unidos. Again, dropping out in 14th position. They were one of the teams that we highlighted at the bottom of the leaderboards as far as these 24 teams go, and they're going to need better performances than that if they have their hopes on going to the regional finals here in just a few weeks' time. But another week of play coming up after this week concludes, and shoot to win is going to be riding high, at least as far as that momentum ball rolls through this game, with 6 kills to their name.
Already guaranteed themselves 6 points. Arc taking engagement with HQA, down to about 3rd HP. Yefei and Zyphon going for a flank on this one. Round the side, Arc has no answer to that one. He sprayed down and flushed out immediately afterwards, leaving Woods as the only active player, with Manny currently downed.
HQA, a team that desperately needed to not lose any more members, and BlindedByWin, a team that needs to aggress upon these engagements and not lose anything in the process as well. But Woods is going to be the only remaining member of this squad, and now the edge play strategy really falls apart as a solo player. You have to bomb center and just try to avoid engagements altogether and sneak your way into those top 3 if you're able to do so. HQA, though, does not want the members of BlindedByWin to exit out of this northern Abbey location. They're going to be rolling around inside of the Abbey itself, trying to spot out where Woods might be lying, but he's also got the micro Uzi prepped and ready to it. If he spots out a member of HQA, it's a quick spray down, and then he walks away.
Yeah, the close quarters weapon of choice on PUBG Mobile. Very dominant, very fast rate of fire, easily going to knock someone at close range. So HQA aren't too careful. They're going to end up feeling the force of that and understand why players are using this Uzi so prevalently. So we're using the third-person perspective to have a check around. He's definitely hearing these footsteps come on. The blue is actually might force his hand as he has to jump out the window behind. Rotate around. He may run straight into the team here. They heard the footsteps. Wood's going to go for the spray down. He gets the knock. That's exactly what we didn't want to happen. Goes in for the flush as well. Commits to it, but will not find it. Zyphon coming in with the save will keep his 3rd member in the game.
And this is sort of a risk analysis that you have to run when you get that knock. Do you try to reset it real quick, or is it going to be safe? Possibly should have waited a second to see that other members of HQA will be popping around the corner. You've got the benefit of the third-person perspective. You have to use it as much as you can to your advantage. Next phase is up, though. We're going to be going over towards the northwestern sides of things. And will a lot of teams over towards the east have to make those shifts? Ignite Gold, VN1, Unnamed, and then HQA all the way from the south are going to be finding obstacle after obstacle lying for them inside of this circle. And they're already engaged on one another. Definitely not what they want to be seeing with this impending trek.
Keeping an eye out there as Raven retreats back. A little bit of overwatch coming in from Sin to get themselves up into these mountains. But they need to mount up and move. It's hard shifted away from the next circle, pushing over to the west. Unnamed occupying far eastern territory along with VN1, so both of them now making the move here. Key and Duck going to go and tank that blue as they rotate around. The blue zone's forcing themselves in. They are going to be chasing Unnamed's tail. They will be spotted out here. It might be dangerous for them as Bill and Sin jump out the vehicle to go for a spray down. Won't find it. Now they've wasted a little bit more time, and they're going to be chasing VN1 in, who can make that snap flick back round to them after they get themselves to safety. Perksas going to find Kiwang and get the flush onto HQA, so they've taken an engagement they did not want to make inside the next circle.
No, it looks like HQA tried to bomb from south to north as well across the pass of the Misfits, and took some casualties along the way, but action popping off here. Unnamed bombs on top of the Silent Killers in the center of the circle, and grenades and Molotovs are flying, and the damage is being applied onto Raven, who quickly retreats to the backside of the building, but it's going to be VN1's Duck. He finds another team. Ignite Gold going to be swarming up on top of him, and they're going to be taking him down. Out they go in 12th position, 11 teams remaining, 40 players alive, as Ignite Gold picks up a nice few set of kills and a loot infusion.
Good for Ignite Gold. They want to be getting more wins after their victory yesterday. And there's going to be Memo getting an explosive down. Play zone for Miski. Going to be going down, unfortunately. HQA have been removed, unfortunately, by Misfits. They shouldn't have taken that engagement. I also believe they rotated around and found themselves knocked beyond by another engagement. You see Misfits on your screen right now, still playing with Xenof. They're applying pressure onto Unnamed, who are still struggling to get themselves into this game. Isolated, then they're going to be divided and conquered at this rate. They're not too careful, need to pull them together. Next circle is forced its way back over to the northeast. They're right on top of the edge, so they're not in the worst position. But they've got Silent Killers staring them down right now and gatekeeping them into that next location.
I sort of enjoy these progressive circles that we see on Vikendi in particular. Starts off very slow and then quickly throws all of these teams into a pit of fire, as Unnamed is going to be under siege right now by the members of Felix and Silent Killers. Able to find some connections. Raven taking damage once again, dropped down to about 75% HP as he and Sin try to take whatever shelter they can inside of this building. But it's too close for them to be comfortable next to the Silent Killers, and certainly split off now from their other solo teammate. On the south, it's going to be none other than Bill, and while some teams got to make some movements, Misfits will be, at least if they continue on a northern path, they're going to be slamming right into the likes of Unnamed and Silent Killers. So I'm at least I'm going to have my eyes on Misfits. I want to see how they play off of this, because this is one of the few times that we see Misfits actually have to make a move to get into the next phase.
Especially late into the game. They're usually ahead of the curve with this one, but G6, they've got the number of the circle right now, dead center. Got a couple of teams looking to go in, a lot of them coming in from that southwest location. Silent Killer's taking a few pop shots at Misfits. Won't be finding it, but Vigilante gets a knock down after taking a few shots, but they're about to pull up on this property right now. Pyro looking to get the shots, already been knocked down to his knees. Xenof is incredibly low, so he can't even peek. You've got reinforcements, Uneven and Perksas coming in. Uneven goes for the flank off to the side. Perksas joins right on top of them. His shots are coming in from another fight. Look at the third party. This one is going to be Tanker getting knocked down. There's Perksas coming in for the res on Pyro after he puts the smokes out. Uneven has been knocked, and he's over by himself. That's disastrous for Misfits to try and recover from this one.
Yeah, tough situation for Misfits. A tough situation for any team that has to make that type of rotation into this crowded of a southeastern edge. But their hope is that Unnamed continues to fight against the Silent Killers, and that they are able to essentially escape or avoid any of these battles altogether. Raven going to be going for the res onto Bill, able to execute off of that and pick up their third member. Again, Miski was flushed out of the game, so they only have 3 to work off in total, and that's not going to be incredibly impactful for them to try to face off against the 3-way engagement in such close quarters.
I think the worst position for anyone to be in right now is Silent Killers. You got Unnamed and Misfits looking right at that building. You've got to try and fight off 2 teams at the same time, especially if they try and rush in there. It's going to be an absolute slaughterhouse. We're having a look at Sin using that silence rifle again, trying to get some shots onto Wildcards, and SK are doing more of the same. Here comes the rush in from Pyro. He's right up against the wall. Uneven down. He's recovering himself right now as the rest of the teams hug this building, trying to find an avenue of entry.
Zenith, the newest addition to this Misfits roster, going to be holding onto the stairwell window. If any member of Silent Killers tries to walk down or peek, they're going to be greeted with a very unfriendly surprise. 5.56 rounds to the face is likely what will be coming out, as the Misfits have now infiltrated the building where the Silent Killers have been lying in wait for the better part of the last few minutes of this game. All 4 inside, Zenith holding the outside still, waiting for one of the members of Silent Killers to pop down the stairs. But again, remember, there are other exits out of this building. One of the members of Silent Killers could pop out of a window, but Felix checking the stairs himself, didn't aggress too far down, not going to be in the lines of sight of Zenith just yet.
They need to rotate north though. Next circle has popped, so Uneven and the rest of Misfits going to be holding this ground floor, looking for them to jump out and vacate quickly. Same story with Unnamed here. They may have to mount up and get out of this one because there's 3 squads in the area. 9 squads still alive as we're getting into the final moments of this game. It's out taking a few casualties from Pittsburgh. Knights, and they're going to have to run straight past them. G6 still holding center circle, though. It's looking good for them to finish quite highly in this map.
G6 the only team inside of the zone. I think they pray into the right circle gods to be able to secure that. Perkasas, though, continues to spot out squad after squad after squad. I like that Misfits are being diligent and that they're not tunneling too hard into the squad that's just a meter or two above their heads, the Silent Killers. But all three teams here in the southeastern corner of the previous zone have to make the movements. And since no one really died in that engagement, that three-way fight trade, well, it's going to be an actual grind fest for these teams to have to work against. Pyra going to be under fire. Silent Killers will be spotting Mount Braz with the AKM, taking down Pyra. The second knock now onto this member of Misfits will be bleeding out extra fast, so Misfits have to be hyper diligent and wrapping around and trying to secure the res if it's going to be safe for them to do so.
Pyra tried to clear a path with the smoke, make sure he's unseen, and they caught a whiff of him as he went in. Now he's out the other side. You'd think he's in relative safety, but the rest of his teams are stuck on the other side of Silent Killers, who haven't made that move themselves yet. And of course, we've already highlighted, he's already been knocked, so he's going to be bleed out at double the speed. Misfits need to go in there. Pyra already at 50% of that knockdown time. He's going to deal with it. From Moraz taking a few shots here, keeping Misfits at bay. The blue has moved in. He needs to jump out into the line of sight of Misfits, but the smoke is obscuring the vision. The vehicle has gone in to try and get Pyra. Perkasas driving in there. Uneven's going to go down to the blue zone, so that's disastrous for Misfits, as they're going to have to try and recover two members now, but Bill's being knocked off by G6, who are holding down that Sentra position like a treat.
All three teams, Unnamed, Silent Killers, and Misfits, are taking casualties, just trying to rotate out of that dangerous position they found themselves in. Silent Killers, you can see they've got a wide open field to try to get across. Chris, with just 30% HP to his name, will be hoofing hit all the way over, trying to find some type of cover to hide behind as G6 continues to hold on to this dominant compound. One team on their east, one team on their west. Wildcard and Pittsburgh Knights are going to be pushing up.
Misfits have already been knocked out of this one. As you can see, we've already dropped down to 6 teams. There's Ranger taking a few shots. We'll find Raven, and he's going to send the Unnamed straight back to the next lobby. Holding down this location outside the wall, looking inwards towards G6, who are playing out against the world right now. Zeus trying to climb himself back into this game, get himself into cover, and hopefully Wildcards can fall back to get a recovery. But shoot to win now dropped down to just Ulysses, as Jagger also taking casualties now for the rest of Pittsburgh Knights.
Two solo players, Pittsburgh Knights with 2, Wildcard with 3, and then G6 with all 4 members alive in a compound to whole. But it has been infiltrated. The members of Wildcard have been able to push up to the walls just on the outside of the safe haven for G6 up until this stage of the game. But if there's anything we all know, these compounds become inherently dangerous the closer and closer these teams get together, especially with that deadly blue zone now on their back here in phase number 8. Chris still out in the field, will be trying to snake his way in. A smoke wall at least trying to be put out by him, but the Pittsburgh Knights are a little bit wiser than that. They're going to be throwing out mollies, trying to zone off any push that could come from that direction. Chris will be spotted out, taking down 4 teams now remaining as shoot to wins Ulysses, another solo player, tries to see what he can do here. Wide open tundra to cross, but a building lies in wait for him to seek cover behind.
He is on the safer side, I would say, based off of where he is. He has got a bit of an open field, as we've already highlighted, but most of the fighting will be drawn to that 3-man squad in the L-shaped building in that corner. Yayo and the rest of the boys in there are going to draw a lot of attention, where most of the gunfire is going to come from. You've got Jakob off to the side trying to split the bet. Well, split their hedge their bets. Illusions. We'll take fire from Ulysses. Bit of a misplay there. You don't want to be highlighting your position as you're about to make that traversal, as Jakob will remove him from the game. We're left with 3 squads now. Wildcards, Pittsburgh Knights, and G6. As the circle will move in, it's all going to come down to how they play around this compound.
4v3, v2 in favor of G6 still. G6 has not had to fight off against much, but now the pure test of skill, of strategy, of team synergy is going to be coming out. How can they adjust against this when Wildcard is still going to be fighting Pittsburgh Knights on the opposite side of the building? Jakob's going to be knocked down as Wildcard continues to hold on.
Got to be flushed out here as well. Wi-Fi going in there straight away. Just being a little bit cautious with it as well. He doesn't know how many members are particularly in that building. He's going to go for the molly to try and find that flush. The rest of Pittsburgh Knights are still holding on to this area. It's just him and Wi-Fi. There's Illusion taking a few shots at Yayo. That's 2 down members now for G6. They've only got 2 alive. Yamon and Alashi need to play well here. Jakob could get flushed here by Pittsburgh Knights, but they're taking in the fight with Wildcards instead. They don't want to be fighting each other right now. As Illusion's getting the flush on the Wi-Fi. He's going to pop back around and find 7 as well. So Illusion's taking them out. Pittsburgh Knights removed. And you've still got Jakob on the ground, but the rest of G6 are looking for the recovery.
And it's not going to be easy for G6 to move over to Jakob. You can see them already trying to at least position themselves to make that push, but they're quickly being met with the resistance from the members of Wildcard off on the northeastern side of this compound. But 2 squads remain. Only one can walk away with a chicken dinner here from game number 1 of week 1 of the semifinal stages. Wildcard, though, continuing to just hold on. Ranger moves into the building. He's got the hard cover to work with, but the other members of G6 have now moved in. The ultimate collapse is coming. Blue zone damage will be absolutely fatal at this stage of the game. So this is the run and gun phase. Who's going to be able to find the connections and the kills and secure the win?
Dario had to make a really big detour there. It's disastrous for him as he exposed himself after tanking so much in the blue. Zeus is going into the area, and they're just going to find it easy. There was nothing G6 could have done about that. Clinical play there for Wildcard to go ahead and take that first place finish. Of course, they were one of the teams we highlighted at the top of the show to watch out for today, and they definitely showed up in comparison to that 7th place Misfits Gaming roster.
Exactly the type of performance that Wildcard needs to continue to have if they have first place in their sights, but they have already done enough likely in the past 2 days of gameplay for them to be able to sit fairly comfortably. I think Wildcard is going to be happy. Stack the deck if you're one of the members of that Wildcard fan club, but a great game played out here on Vikendi Trid.
Absolutely, they're getting away that first place victory, and G6 bit off a little bit more than they could chew. They were blessed with circles, they played it correctly for the time being, but couldn't pull it out when it mattered most. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to take you to the jungles of Sanhok.
PUBG Mobile for free.
Hello and welcome back to day number 3 of the PUBG Mobile Club Open semifinal stages for North America. We just saw Wildcard pick up the first chicken dinner of the day in high fashion as well, but we've got 3 more games to go throughout the rest of the day, Trid.
Yeah, absolutely going to be moving into Sanhok next, but before we get into that, let's have a look at some highlights. And this is where it started to go wrong for HQA. They went up and tried and had a 4v1 engagement against Dilly, and in this instance, Esquire, they should be taking this away with no casualties. You might get a knock, but you should never let it flush. Everyone comes in a little bit too late to save them.
HQA once again facing off against a solo player. Well, they got knocked again. This time, though, they were there to protect their teammate. Woods gets taken out. And then we lead into the final engagement, the final moments here in this compound. It was a pretty crazy battle that we saw. Multiple teams engaged onto one another, but only one could come out alive. And it was none other than Wildcard.
It was an unfortunate map geometry for G6. They had to take a longer route into the blue zone, tanking it longer, which meant, of course, they were losing more health, and it was just an easier battle for Wildcard Gaming to take and then go ahead and secure that first place finish. Now, when they're in a head-to-head race with Misfits Gaming to get that first place spot at the end of the day, kicking things off with a first place finish and a handful of kills is not a bad way to start it.
No, certainly Misfits hanging back. They're watching this game and they say, oh boy, here comes Wildcard, here comes Wildcard. We're likely going to be seeing them throughout the rest of this tournament entirely. But again, Wildcard, got to give them props for what they did. They held the outside of the compound. They didn't overcommit to the inside, which we saw G6 do, and that's ultimately what led to their downfall. Leaving those buildings that provide such a safe place for you the entirety of that game is when your squad gets torn up, and they really felt it there.
3 squads that fell victim to compounds or overstaying. You had Unnamed, Silent Killers, and Misfits themselves in this one. They were fighting off into a circle, into a compound, which typically was in a good position until the circle hard shifted to the west, forced everyone out, and suddenly it's a stalemate. Well, if I go, SK are going to shoot me in the back as I run. SK are thinking, if we go, we're going to get pincered by 2 teams. And Unnamed are thinking, well, if I run, I'm just going to get shot as well. Eventually, Misfits pulled the trigger early, but they took too many casualties. Silent Killers rotated out next, but they ended up dying as well. It caused a bit of a panic there when they just overstayed in a compound for a little bit too long. Hopefully, we'll see less of that as we jump into our second map of the day. It's Sanhok.
And here we go from the western edge of Sanhok. The jungle is now a much different landscape than we're used to seeing in game number 1, but here it is. Plane path going to be favored up towards that northwestern side of the jungle, but this map is the smallest of every PUBG mobile map. It's a 4x4 kilometer at least map where these players won't have too much of a struggle spreading out to their heart's content, being able to reach almost everywhere from this much favored plane path. Even the docks could be reachable if a team opted to go towards the far southeast. But a majority of our teams that popped out of the cargo hold will be now left to their own strategy to try to make it through game number 2.
Everyone ignores the northwest island. Camp Alpha and Hartin not going to be used at all, but see more teams heading towards the southeast of the map. Ignite Gold are the first to make landfall just south of Tambang. And then the circle going to be falling down into that southeast region. So for most of the teams, this is advantageous because they're already heading in that direction.
Right. And again, this the Northwest is typically part of the island of Sanhok that we usually see teams drop in, but everyone with a sigh of relief as they see this circle. Exactly. Yeah, Painan is going to be a bit of a battlefield. Shoot to win already starting to feel that. They are splitting up the members of Pittsburgh Knights on the eastern side of Painan, and Jagger and Monarch are not going to be able to easily get to Wi-Fi, and 7, especially with the Revenants now hearing all of this gunfire from the west.
Thinking about how they can third party this one. Need to get some loot first. You still see Tanker running around trying to find some weapons, but Shoot to Win are in a difficult spot here. They're being pinched between Pittsburgh Knights. It's all about who gets that early loot first. And the way Monarch and 7 are pathing, I don't think they've got any loot to fight this. The rest of Pittsburgh Knights, they're leaving the territory, and well, Shoot to Win, they've claimed it all for themselves. Now they just have to worry about what Revenants are going to do.
It's a smart disengage from Pittsburgh Knights. Again, this is the team that sort of struggled in the group stages. They at least put up enough points to make it into the semifinal round, and now they're really showing that they are a dominant squad. Pittsburgh Knights have been fairly consistent in their placements throughout these games, and placements, again, are where you're going to be picking up a bulk of your points in this stage of the tournament. Shoot to Win, though, continues to try to find some loot. Rafa in desperate need of meds, and he's not yet able to find them, and Revenants still loom across the water, across that maybe 10-meter river just to the west.
Just keeping themselves down as well as they can. Ulysses, not got a lot of loot. Only that level 1 vest and a pistol to his name. The Glock, not going to be looking too good for him. Needs to find something more, but they're very conscious of what's happening. Paradise Resort, typically a Paradise Lost scenario for a lot of teams, turns into a bit of a graveyard, but Misfits have it all to themselves. Typical hot drop location for them. They're always taking control of this one and forcing teams out quite early.
Yeah, no one's inviting themselves to the vacation that Misfits are taking here in the Paradise Resort. After they saw what happened to some of our teams that tried to do so in the group stages, Misfits made light work of any team that tried to encroach on their drop location. Continuing to look around the map, that we are seeing a few teams starting to line up. Rotation paths might be crossed, and well, shots are going to be coming out. It's none other than HQA spotting out the members of Pittsburgh Knights in that retreat, but they're going to be traded out. Jagger with the M416 spots out one of the members of HQA. This fight is happening just a little bit off to the west of the Corey area, and the rest of Pittsburgh Knights have to begin to worry about how they're going to be able to at least survive here in this game. Again, they disengaged off of Painan just about a minute ago, but now they found themselves just in a world of hurt. Another situation that they don't want to be in this early on in game number 2.
They're starting to recover though, Esquire. That's not the worst outcome for them. Still looking a little bit dry on the loot front. They're going to keep moving after they picked up some items. Kuang just holding the angle that, well, chasing up the rear of Pittsburgh Knights. They're going to have to recover Zephyr, who did get knocked in that engagement, but I'm sure he'll be able to get back into this fight quite easily. Espinoza eyeing up the rest of Shoot to Win there. Going to line up the shot on this one. Going for the more mobile target. Takes a few shots. Rafa will get the knock. Turns it back around to Ulysses, who hasn't even reacted to what's going on. He's going to get downed as well. 2 knocks onto Shoot to Win, and Psycho is heading for the hills.
Curious as to what happened there. Certainly something was afoot with the members of Shoot to Win that were trailing behind Psycho. Psycho now not going to be able to pull back up to the north to res Rafa. He's going to say goodbye to his other teammate, and now left as a solo player, just sitting there listening to the comms of his other 3 teammates who now are no longer able to participate in this match. Though he looks back and he tries to spot out the members of Revenants. Keep in mind, Revenants will have to make this cross as well. The southwestern area of phase number 1 will likely not be favored throughout the rest of the match, but he has been spotted out. Psycho taking 60 HP worth of damage by the members of Revenants. Tanker with a nice placement of the M16.
Keeping an eye down that line, but here's Method taking a lot of fire from VN1. Going to trade it out there. Will get the knock on to Steamy, but probably going to lose his life for this one as they're just trading knocks. Ran finds the angle onto Clay. Will drop him down as well. Everfury looking to punish that as he aggresses forward to go for the flushes. Method have already lost Stormy, and now Everfury's being knocked down by the VN1 aggression. They're just moving this war of attrition closer to Method's territory. I believe there's only one left standing, and it's G-Bay trying to stay up here as Clay's going to be flushed out there. Not the right angle for him. Key going to be the one to find that. Everfury, the firing line next, not in cover whatsoever, and Everfury going to get flushed out as well by Key as fire comes in from HQA to suppress them, leaving G-Bay, the last remaining member for Method.
I feel like if you ever wonder where the action is on the map, just try to find HQA, because they're not able to avoid it no matter how hard they try. Yife going to be knocked. Quang trying to push up into the building to safely get the res onto his fallen teammate as Michael and Zyphin pull up as well. Keep in mind, Zyphin has already been knocked so far this game. He's going to be bleeding out much faster than normal should he suffer another knock. But G-Bay has been spotted out. He's going to be hiding behind the rock as the members of VN1 push into the hardcover and try to take those cheeky peeks outside of the windows to spot one of the remaining members of Method.
Some shots being rattled off. They're not on target for G-Bay, who's just lying down right now, trying to keep his head down in the grass. Does not want to get spotted, playing for that placement. The M1 are rotating out. They're keeping an eye on where Method were. They have no precise location on G-Bay, so this storm is going to pass for him, and he's going to be able to set sail and for greener pastures afterwards.
At least that is the plan. We'll see if he's going to be able to pull off of this ruck, because again, HQA continues to at least look in this direction. Yife is not going to be deterred from trying to wipe out the entirety of Method here in the early game, and that would be Method going out at 16th place. That would be a huge impact for them. A team that sits on the bottom half of the leaderboards, they need to have some stellar performances, certainly a strong squad in their previous showings, but they got to do it here where it matters. Lights out, though, on that transition, going to be eating some blue zone damage as they safely make their way into the northern side of phase number 1.
They're chasing the after image of Misfits at this point. Lucifer's already scouted out with another one of his comrades, just east of Paradise Resort, making sure the path is clear for the rest of Lights Out to move into in this vehicle. Next circle's going to pop more of a nudge leaning towards the center, so no hard shifts coming in here. Not a lot being changed apart from Ignite Gold. Lations Unidos and Lights Out need to find a more central location.
lot of teams have already found that central location, though. You can see just how congested it's beginning to become off to the west of where Corey is currently sitting. Pittsburgh Knights G6 VN1 HQA. I mean, you can almost name the entire lobby for the most part. It has already bombed into the center circle. Make no mistake as well. Misfits have moved in here. But the eastern side of phase number 2 is also a little bit crowded. Silent Killers as well as Unnamed might be clashing here, just a little bit off of the Kampong area.
So Misfits is going to move into the area. VN1, like we've already highlighted, are nearby, looking to secure that crate for themselves and all the juicy contents that remain inside. Over to the south of the circle, BlindedByWin, and a couple of members of Wildcard getting awfully close, but there's a grenade coming out from Pyra. Over the top towards VN1, won't find Ran. He's going to change the angle up. You can hear the gunfire being traded over the top as Perksas moves aggressively forward, maybe a little bit too far. He jumps on top of the rock and will be spotted out by Ran. No fire able to land onto him as they're playing around the cover excellently so far.
Ren needs to be careful. He's split off from the other 2 members of this squad. Lucas as well. VN1 could get absolutely destroyed here if the members of Misfits put on a full squad engagement and watch the angles. Lucas is already going to be down. He was found. And the other members of VN1 are going to have a tough time trying to maneuver their way over to their fallen comrade to pick him up. But it looks like Misfits doesn't want to aggress upon this. They're going to continue to hold strong up here as the kings of the hill as they wait for VN1 to show themselves once again.
They got plenty of time to kill with this central location. Even with the next phase, they're probably not going to have to relocate just yet. 10 seconds till the blue starts moving in. Quite a uniform circle for it to do so. So, a little bit of progress. But there's the shots from Uneven onto Key. Lucas has already been knocked down there. Misfits maintain the pressure. Key looking to run away. Not going to get tagged by any of those bullets, but they're completely aware of where that VN1 player is, keeping their guns trained in that location.
Key just trying to call Lucas back to him, trying to say crawl, 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 just try. But as he tries, he continues to reveal his position over to Zenith and the rest of Misfits, continuing to shoot down upon him. Well, Lucas, he is going to be at least rezzed at the final moment, the 11th hour, essentially, that Key was able to pull up and pick up the res onto his teammates. No helmet, though, to his name. That vest almost destroyed, and VN1 needs to be very careful as to how they proceed after now recovering.
Ran's in a position of safety, so if it did go wrong during that recovery, he would be able to play for placement and get out of the fight. Seeing Wildcards and BlindedByWin, we already talked about how they were quite close to each other. Arcs in the prone behind that rock is trying to look and see where the aggression from Wildcard Gaming is going to be coming out. Here's the rest of BlindedByWin. Rotate, wrap more accurately around the rear of him to try and get away from this location. Ace taking a few shots at a 2-2 split coming in from Unnamed as they aggress up the hill onto this compound that's been locked down by Ace Esports.
And this is Ace that went out in 16th position in game number 1, trying to have a much better performance here on Sanhok, and they're putting out the pressure that they need to keep Unnamed at bay. I don't think Sin, Miski, Raven, or Bill are going to be pushing up onto this compound. The grenades certainly putting out the intended pressure to send them packing down to the south and continue to keep Ace Esports alive as the blue zone continues to shrink in on phase number 2. We're about to see another shift here and enter into the mid game, and we might have to see some rotations. We have a few teams playing edge all the way down to the south, Ignite Gold all the way off to the east, these Silent Killers, but VN1 has to continue to be aware of the Misfits up on the hill. And Trid, their position isn't necessarily favorable to an engagement. Rand still very much separated from his team, Duck as well, and then Qui and Lucas inside of the building.
Very segmented VN1, so it's going to be hard to pull together and take these fights in a clean 4v4 engagement. Next phase is going to pop, but Hex has already taken some fire towards Bill and the rest of Unnamed. He's going to suppress them behind the rock. He doesn't want to aggress too much here. There's 3 members ready to turn on him straight away, but it's going to be Miski downed in the distance by Woods as he's playing that oversight position. It's not looking good for them. They're keeping up on this high ground territory.
Wildcard starting to push up to the hole in the mountain that leads down to the cave, and certainly Wildcard is a force to be reckoned with and not who you want to be pinched in between, but Miski continues to bleed out. The other members of Unnamed trying to throw some smoke concealment up the hill, up that tiered hill, to trying to get back to their fallen teammate and pick up the res and maybe even just get out of this entirely. As Miski crawls into the smoke, the plume that could possibly save his life and keep Unnamed 4 strong. He's out of the wrong side of the smoke.
Yeah. I was going to say, he might have been able to get away with it, but he's trying to dodge the bullets as best he can. It will be Miski getting flushed out there. Man needs to pick that one up for the confirmed kill. Next circle has popped yet again. Still pretty uniform. No hard shifts coming in. You've got Silent Killers and Ignite Gold looking to find their way into the circle. The only people who remain on the outside. Not many rooms for clashes, but if you're Psycho, that solo player for Shoot to Win, you see Ignite Gold coming across the river, they may want to take control of that compound early, so you might be running into a 4v1 very quickly.
And this is an interesting circle, be it that the quarry lays inside of it. The quarry, sure, you might say it's a playable area, but none of these teams are going to want to commit to being dropped down onto the low ground in the wide open with the cliffs to look down upon them. So look to see all of the teams avoiding that unless they're absolutely forced down into that devastating area of this phase. Misfits continue to look on. Zenith able to pick up an AWM from a care package. This is a very powerful gun that is in the hands of a very powerful player in this lobby. But can they find the connections that they're going to need to pick up the kills? Misfits currently sitting at 0, but we've also seen how quickly that can change for this squad.
While that's going on, Wildcard Gaming flushed out one of their members, so they're down to 3 currently. BlindedByWin being the people to claim an extra point on the kill mark. So keeping an eye on this one. Hector then finding Unnamed Bill as well. So BlindedByWin doing a good job of taking on 2 squads at the same time, not biting off more they can chew and keeping them at bay. We see Lights Out moving very close to getting into Lations Unidos territory. Just playing it very slow, snaking around the terrain and trying to keep themselves as concealed as possible.
I see some of the directional arrows from Lations Unidos looking up the hill. They might have some sort of indication, be it audible cues or possibly even visual, that there is a team currently riding around the hill just off to the northwest of where they are currently hiding. But Lations Unidos, they got to have a big game. Dancing around might not be the thing that you need to do at this stage of it. Certainly there's nothing to celebrate in their current position, but Lights Out are going to be swarming onto this building. They're moving around in prone positions, trying to take up the most advantageous and strategical points on this compound. And if you're Lations Unidos, you might not be aware of this, and yet at least need to start to be, because the circle continues to get smaller and the teams are just not dropping out yet.
Not yet. Ignite Gold. I want to have to look at Shoot to Win right now, because Psycho has been just like surrounded by all the members of Ignite Gold. He's praying that he doesn't get spotted out on the outside. Raven gonna get the knock onto Pro TJ or Pro DJ from Ace Esports. It's not looking good for him right now.
Lights
Out.
Out
Still be surrounding Lations Unidos.
Yeah, holding a 2-2 split right now, it's not a bad formation, especially given the power that Lights Out has displayed over the course of this tournament. Outsider 9K and Memo working as a team, Lucifer then Seagut on the southwestern bend of this circle. But phase number 4 has popped. It's going to be a hard shift down to the southwest. Somehow, Ignite Gold has found themselves on the southern end of this circle. They were a team that had played Edge the entirety of this game, and will the other teams in this lobby, more so about 8 or 9 of them, have to make very wide open transitions to try to get down into this area southwest of Corey and Trid. It's nothing but wide open hills, a few trees, a few rocks that might give you cover, and not many compounds for these teams to bomb into.
I think the player who's most relieved by that circle is Psycho from Shoot to Win. He doesn't have to move, and Ignite Gold have not found him yet.
There's bodyguards.
He's going to be able to ride this one out and ride the placements up the leaderboard as Lucifer going to spot out G6 here, not taking any shots just yet because the rest of Lights Out are coming over the hill and they still have a long way to travel to get into that circle. And they're going to start opening up onto Yamon. There's nothing he can do about it. He goes for the Serpentine, but it's not enough. There comes the knock. We're looking for the flush off the back of that one as well, as they also start dealing damage over to Jakob as well. Return fire coming in from a Lushy to try and keep them at bay. Jakob has been downed, and that was Yamon being flushed. Yayo needs to heal up, get himself to safety. G6 cutting their losses and leaving him behind.
G6, as far as today goes, are strangers to engagements. They aren't necessarily used to these types of fights based off of their performance in game number 1, where they were able to hold shelter for the entirety almost of that game. But Lights Out are swarming. They don't care who they see in their sights. They're going to be spraying them down whichever way they can. As Jakob ultimately gets flushed out of the game, 2 members remain for this G6 squad, Alushi and Yayo. I think they were forced down into the Corey Trid, and that's not where you want to be. I talked about it.
Been shot about already. There's the crossfire as well. Yayo, please take cover, my son. But outside of 9K, he's running in here as well, trying to chase the kills. He might be going straight into a trap. Yayo will be able to take cover from this one, but he's outside of 9K. May open himself up to some fire here. He's playing very close to the cliff face to try and deny those angles, but Yayo may spot him out himself here. Look at this, Bill and Sin trying to recover and revive their teammates, but they're tanking the blue now as they need to get closer into that newly formed circle.
Not going to be easy for any of these teams currently in firefights, because the teams that are fighting are not inside of the zone, and they still have to make those movements or risk going out here early on in Sanhok. But A lot of edge play happening now as Unnamed tries to recover off of this Bill and Sin, trying to get full boosted up to counteract some of this blue zone damage they will be facing off against as they make that trek over towards the northwest. A small transition, but certainly becoming deadlier by the minute.
We'll be able to make it though. They have to take cover. The shots coming from behind. Silent Killer's coming in late on this one, able to capitalize by getting the knock onto Sin. And going to be dealing quite handily with the rest of Unnamed. Here's Pro DJ with the spray down onto Lations Unidos. He's off a knock and a flush immediately off the back to Mateus. Here come the rest of LTU though. Angel holding the angle on the side. We'll peek around afterwards. And in the quarry right now, Miraz looking to stay alive, using the first aid kit will go down to the blue as the fire is coming on onto SK, and they're going to get knocked down by the play zone. Felix, the only last member remaining. He's trying to heal up with the first aid kit, but he's going to go to the blue as well. That is the rest of them being sent to the graves, and Silent Killer's going out.
Teams are beginning to drop like flies. We started off with 16. Now we are left with 11 as the Pittsburgh Knights, I believe, get flushed out of the game. G6 is a lushy, going to be found out. Zenith gets the second knock with the AWM of the game and continues to be a deadly threat as the Misfits have found themselves in the warehouses just off to the west of where the quarry lies. But this next circle is hard shifted up towards the north. 3 teams going to be at least in dominant positions on the northwestern side as Revenants holding off any push from HQA, but it's going to be the Misfits spotting out Lights Out, one of the other powerful teams here in this lobby, going to be under fire as Zenith and the rest of the squad start to at least strangle around.
But it's not Misfits you need to be worried about. It's Wildcard. They're the ones who dealt and get the flush, and they're dealing with more as they're fighting against Pittsburgh Knights as well as the likes of Lights Out. Ranger taking a few shots from Monarch on the high ground, but it's the pop shot from their side. 7 to knock him to his knees and end his reign of terror. Pittsburgh Knights are looking to aggress onto this. Wildcard Gaming are in the area to heal, but it's only Zeus that will be able to get the recovery here, so he's popping the smokes nice and early to obscure that vision.
And there is another team pushing in. It's Lations Unidos off of that southeastern edge. It's going to be a 3-way fight here, and the spray going to be coming out. Zeus able to spot out one of the members of Lations Unidos, takes him down with the AKM and remains undetected, picking up a kill point, but still has Chacho and Revo just up the hill, but they're completely focused on the Pittsburgh Knights. They will be finding some knocks. That's going to be another one as Wildcard continues to at least survive. Zeus going to be crawling up toward Ranger, who's just trying to stay ahead of the blue zone, still bleeding out, but now Zeus has the perfect opportunity to get the res, and Lations Unidos exit the game in 8th place.
That was the best possible outcome for Wildcard Gaming. Pittsburgh Knights and Lations Unidos both being dropped out there by their engagement and the blue zone. It completely distracted them from Wildcard, but now Misfits have turned their attention back. Zeus unable to get away from that one. Pyro picks up the kill from long range. There was a chance that Wildcard Gaming could have got back into that one.
Ranger goes down as well, but Revenants have been spotted out. Misfits continue to be very diligent in that flank watching ability that their squad has displayed beautifully throughout this tournament. But now the shift comes in again. Misfits are going to have to roll in off of that eastern edge, and the lone player of Lights Out, Seagut, lies in wait at the northern side. Currently in the blue zone, facing off against that damage, but a battle rages on between Ignite Gold and HQA on the western side of the previous circle. They've both got to work their way in off of this edge. They're not going to be able to disengage. Lights Out's remaining player, Seagut, will be spotted out as the members of Misfits pick up another kill. Their 6th of the game here. Perkasas with the AKM.
3 players to the name so far. Pyro unfortunately bowing out after being flushed out. Got Woods, BlindedByWin, coming in from the south. They've got to be careful to the left because they've got Ignite Gold up on that hill. You can see Fi up there holding territory. Solo player for that team right now. Misfits in the low ground. Revenants are in a good position to take away this round. They've got the most bodies on the map, along with BlindedByWin, but they're in a more difficult position when it comes to the circle. Smoke's coming out for Revenant, trying to obscure that vision. Here comes the spray down from Revenants. They deal with HQA, getting the flush onto 1, and they start turning onto Fi now. Will Gil remove him from the map. BlindedByWin now being forced to move through this circle. Painkiller's been popped by Manny, trying to find something, has to run in, will go down, and it's easy pickups here for Revenants. They turn their attention over to Manny and Woods from BlindedByWin. 3 squads remaining, uneven, a solo player.
Revenants have a dominant hold on this circle, holding on to the northwestern position. BlindedByWin has a world of territory to work their way across to try to get into this next zone. So does the solo player from Misfits. Uneven has been spotted out, trying to at least take some sort of cover on the palm tree, but not able to. The lines of sight are to be had by the members of Revenants as they pick up another kill. But BlindedByWin. Wood's going to be bleeding out. 2 members up on their feet. Hector and Arcs have a huge task ahead of them and likely no utility to assist them on their way.
Woods is down there. Here comes the flush to seal the deal for the 2 to decide who gets that first place. Stranger things have happened. We've seen the 2-man squad go up against the 4 and come out with a victory before Esquire, so it's completely not out of the cards for BlindedByWin to be able to do this one. The circle forcing their hand straight into the arms of Revenants, who are set up and ready to greet them.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to what can Arcs do here. Can he be quick enough with the flicks? Can he be quick enough with the resets? And he doesn't necessarily have enough cover to do so. So I'm going to essentially put this as a W coming out for the members of Revenants. They were able to flush out Hector, and out he goes. But now Arcs is taking blue zone damage. He likely might be going for the point deny here, trying to remain undetected and just give away, concede the win over to the members of Revenants. He doesn't necessarily know, though, that there are only 2 teams remaining. That's why he's trying to do the med battle right now, but he will be fully committing to it now, trying to spray from the blue zone, trying to find a last connection, unable to do so, and a huge win coming over for Revenants, keeping all 4 members alive and picking up 15 kills along the way.
Revenants able to win that one out. It was looking really good for them as soon as we got down to that final circle. A couple of squads remaining, but too distracted, taking fights for each other rather than focusing on the full strength squad hiding down in that area below. Like I said, most unfortunate for Wildcard. I think they could have got back into it there a little bit quicker to get away from the line of sight of Misfits after being gifted that free get out of jail card.
Yeah, essentially there was only one win condition for them to get out of that, and it was if that the BlindedByWin squad engaged onto the members of Pittsburgh Knights. They were able to do so, but unfortunately wide open territory spells disaster for these teams no matter what map they're playing on. That's game 2 though in the books. We've got 2 more games as Trid has coined it, the double serving of Erangel coming up next.
Zombie, Darkest Night, the newest mode in the zombie universe, is here. This time, the rules are different. No more parachuting, as players will be placed at random locations on the map when the match begins, and there is no single winner. Players must work with their teammates to spend one long night in the match and stay alive until the sun comes up. Waves and waves of zombies will spawn during each of the 3 foggy periods at night, and supplies should only be scavenged when the fog fades. The main objective is not to defeat other players, though this doesn't mean they are harmless. Players may need to work with other teams when necessary, but should also watch their backs in case the Fragile Alliance goes south. This will be a unique experience for every player involved. This new mode also comes with a passive skill for every player. Understanding these skills will be the key to staying alive in this long night. Can you ride out the night?
Hello PUBG Mobile esports fans, and welcome back to the semifinal stages of the PUBG Mobile Club Open. We're halfway through day number 3 of the semifinals, and Trid, pretty exciting jungle game we just saw played out on Sanhok.
Yeah, Revenants taking away the victory on that one, and it was quite a successful feat for them. They had good control over the circle, a couple of squads left alive, but not in such a favourable position. It just made cleaning this entire map up easy for the Revenants, and walking away with another map win for them. They're first of the semi-finals, but probably not the last based on how they keep performing quite consistently.
Yeah, exactly, and performing in the final few circles as well, keeping all 4 players alive, and then not giving up anything, regardless of the fact that there were solo players on the map. We've seen solo players, they've sort of thrown wrenches in the plans of some teams, but the positioning of Revenants there in the final moments of that game was absolutely huge. But Trid, we gotta focus now on the final half of the day. 2 matches of Erangel. Hope you guys are hungry for some chicken dinners, because we're gonna be serving them up the rest of the evening.
Yeah, the double helping is the most important component of our broadcast, purely because it's the most played map out of the rotation. You're going to go ahead and nail Erangel. You're going to get a lot of points for doing so, even if you're not so strong on Vikendi, Sanhok, or Miramar. Basically, teams should probably disregard Miramar. You're only going to play it once out of the rotation, so it's not the most ideal map to put all of your investment into learning. It's certainly going to be Erangel, one of its joint largest map, but it was the OG PUBG Mobile map, so the players are supposed to be really familiar with it. We see a couple of teams occupying territory and carving it out for their own based off of their group stage and semi-final performances so far.
Yes, exactly. Keep your eyes on a few hot spots on this Erangel map. Yes, Pachinki definitely going to be drawing a few question marks over that city, absolutely. Milta has also been a spot that has drawn a lot of early game conflict by virtue of teams maybe not being able to stretch all the way down to Sosnovka Island or all the way over towards Milta Power. Again, Wildcard is one of those teams that we've seen when they can't necessarily parachute all the way over to that Milta Power spot on the southeastern corner of Erangel, well, they find themselves amidst conflict, mainly near that farm area.
Yeah, I'm expecting to see in the Pachinki, as we've already highlighted. Unnamed typically carve that out as their own, and they've had some challenge in the previous days from Lations Unidos and Shoguns, who are no longer with us. But I imagine we may see a couple drop on there, but there's only one way to find out, and that's by jumping into our 3rd map of the evening. We're taking over the skies of Erangel.
And a good playing path is exactly what we're looking at. Sure, you might be saying it's favored Esquire a little bit over towards the east, but all things considered, it is looking pretty if you're one of the 16 teams here in this lobby. From south to north we go, dissecting the map almost in half, and teams are already departing. No surprise to already see Misfits hopping out early on to claim that Sosnovka proper military base.
Yeah, they're one of the teams who love to drop onto Military Island, shoot to win. I think they're actually going to go and take the Novo spot, seeing as Nova aren't existing in this one. They're not currently playing in either of these 2 groups, so they're going to be able to take that one for free. But it's really Pachinki I want to have a look of. I really think that's going to be a hotbed of action early, should teams commit in the same ways they have done in the past.
Ace Esports, Pro DJ already heading in that direction towards Pachinki, but I also see the members of Unnamed going back there. This is a team, Unnamed that is, that has landed in Pachinki amidst conflict before, and they're not going to be shying away from anything just yet. We'll see how those ultimate parachutes land, but for now, they're all heading in that direction.
Just going to be flying down there. We can already see, and just to confirm it, shoot to win. and Misfits have landed on Military Island. You've got Wildcard and Silent Killers heading towards the Milta Power area. All the way up in the north, as expected, Revenants taking over Yasnaya, and you can see there the first circle popping up in the north, but typically mainland, so just going to remove those teams in the Military Island and force them to move up north a little bit quicker than planned.
Revenants, one of those teams we saw yesterday when they were in the lobby with Spacestation Gaming. They were sharing that Yasnaya Polyana area, but no sharing today. They've got it all to their lonesome for them to pick through and find every bit of loot that they need to hopefully allow them to reach that first place position in this game. Silent Killers, the only team currently in Milta. No surprise that we have Wildcard off to the east of this position, trying to stretch over there towards mini Milta Power and maybe even stretching as far as Big Milta. Although we do see a few other teams that will have to at least face off against some early game conflict. HQA certainly stretching a little bit past the Watertown area, maybe trying to favor over towards that South Georgia Pole spot that's currently open. But other teams are in that area as well. Method going to be lining up a little bit in between them and G6. But over here in Pachinki, we have one Pittsburgh Knight. That's all. Just one inside of the actual city facing off against Unnamed. And I think facing off might be the wrong word here, Trid, because that's exactly what Monarch does not want to do.
I think he's just trying to get what loot he can from the edge of this building, break into the territory, yoink all the stuff he can, and then leave. Unnamed, they're not probably hearing a lot of footsteps or gunfire, so they're not reacting to it as they would do if we usually see a full squad drop on this one. Seven looks like he's heading a little bit closer, so he might be coming over for the assist as Monarch actually going to leave now after stealing a vehicle away from Unnamed.
And that's actually kind of a significant thing that Monarch was able to do there. There aren't a ton of vehicle options inside of Pachinki. You have two essentially hard spawns inside of the city, one in the garage and one outside of the Harry Potter in the middle of town. And well, one of those is gone now, and Unnamed has to start to worry about that if they want to make any rotations towards a more centralized area. But Trid as well, in this phase number one, we see once again the river leading out of Yasnaya over towards the west coast will effectively be splitting this zone in half. Teams are going to have to at least hedge their bets, north or south, or will we take up shelter on that cube compound we saw so significantly played by the Pittsburgh Knights yesterday?
May have to wait and find out on that one. Method and HQA look like they're going to be splitting George, north and south respectively. You've got Ignite Gold taking over Severny by themselves, and then over to the northeast by Stalbo, you've got VN1. Yasnaya, like we said, is already being occupied by Revenants, and dead center in Rozhok, lights out of occupying that one. HQA, you can see working through the containers right now, trying to steal all the imported goods to the island of Erangel, as the circle will start to move in the next 20 seconds.
Not a bad position for HQA to be looting up on. They have to be, again, worried about the team of Method just off to the north in North Georgia Pole. But other than that, there are no immediate threats, no threats on transition paths that they're going to have to concern themselves with just yet. Ultimately, that can change, though. If there's anything we've learned about PUBG Mobile, it's that things change very quickly via team movement, via circle shrinks. As we continue to look, though, at HQA, they're just looting up. No, nothing happening here, Trid. This is fairly standard for these guys.
I think that's going to be the case around the map here. No one's hands are being forced just yet. The rotations don't even have to come in because the circle's going to move slow. It doesn't even deal that much damage to begin with, so you still got time even if the blue is chasing you away. G6 having a little bit of a loot up in the Watertown to the west of Rozhok, and your Pittsburgh Knights even further over to the west in Ruins right now, so they are technically sandwiched between two teams, but as we keep alluding to, not much movement is required for these teams, only the ones in the borders, particularly down by Military Island.
And, you know, that might be something that these teams have to worry about. Sure, the blue zone isn't necessarily a factor. The biggest factor is the fact that other teams are moving in for those centralized positions, which we've seen pay off a lot for these teams so far throughout the day. Centralized positions pay off in spades as long as you can hold your own throughout those final firefights. Any team playing the edge might be, at least, they might have a few obstacles in their way, more so than they had intended. As Revenants continue to loot up here, they've been able to stretch from that western side of Yasnaya all the way to the east, picking apart every single building that they can quickly loot through. I believe the apartments are going to be untouched for them so far, though.
Well, they can always go there as well. It's entirely their territory, Phil. There's no one contesting it. Speaking of the rotations that need to come in, Misfits going over the West Bridge right now, get on mainland, shoot to win, have mounted up into vehicles. They're going to be following suit quite quickly as well. So no one's going to be chased by the blue in particular, as they've got a lot of space between them. Still over in Milta Power, Wildcard taking a little bit of time before they're making that rotation. They're probably going to be the last team to do so based on the way that the rest of the teams are progressing, which may pose difficulty to them depending on where they enter and what type of compound they want to lock down for themselves. Everyone else pretty content with their current locations.
Misfits continuing on this path from south to north, leaving Sanhok Island entirely and now favoring over towards a western direction. And if they continue riding the edge of this, they could possibly be running into one team. In fact, that's going to be Ace Esports holding on to the Gatka area. You saw Ace, they dropped near the Pachinki area, but too many teams, at least presenting their parachutes towards that direction, can kind of force them off the fly. As we pop over here to the eastern coast of Erangel, this is going to be Lipovka. Lations Unidos have called this their home, but they're going to have to shift at least a few meters over towards the west to get safely inside of phase number 1. And if they want to get circle, well, they've got to get some vehicles because already teams are starting to congregate towards those centralized locations. Those prime spots are already being picked up and collected by these teams.
Absolutely. Esquire's Wildcard are going to run up north. May give away their position to Lations Unidos as we see Misfits carrying on into the Gatka area. They're getting quite close to Ace Esports, actually. They've breezed past them without issue for the time being. They're heading further up north. They may run into the Pittsburgh Knights, who are operating outside of Yellows and Ruins. So that could heat up quite shortly if they carry on this current path.
Pittsburgh Knights are currently rolling across the bridge right now. HQA, though, over here in that South Georgia Pole area, they've continued to at least spread through the crates area off to the east of the South Georgia Pole town. And while they're picking up a lot of loot in the process, they don't have to worry about anything in particular just yet, unless they want to, again, move further inside of this phase. But Pittsburgh Knights continue on. They're going to be blowing past that cube compound that they held yesterday when this type of a circle was presented to them in favor of a more northern rotation. And they might be finding another team. G6 has already positioned themselves a little bit inland, a little bit off to the east of where Wi-Fi is currently driving, so it has to be ultra aware to scout out these compounds before committing. But the shots are going to be coming out from Silent Killers. Mraz going to be spotting out Lucas and Quia V1 at the gas station, where we have seen many a team die so far, Trid.
Absolutely. They're going to apply the pressure onto them. Don't know where the remainder of their teammates are. I believe they're further over to the northwest, out of the line of sight and out of danger from Silent Killers. We're just holding down this building right now and just paying them a lot of attention over to the west of Yasnaya and gatekeeping them from moving further into the area, or potentially even trying to leave at this point as well.
Blue Zone, though, continues to work its way in on phase number 1, about 80% of the way done with that shrink, and we've not seen one player killed just yet, Trid. I believe it is the members of Lations Unidos who only have 3 on their squad, which accounts for the 1 player missing from that 64-player count that we're used to seeing. As Pittsburgh Knights Wi-Fi, he continued on in that rotation and found himself a nice little care package, an MK14, one of the more popular DMR rifles that you can pick up, and only out of the crates, as well as that level 3 armor kit to boot. But phase number 2 pops, and it's going to be at least shrinking over towards the southeastern side of things. River's still going to be implicated, cutting off the upper 25% of this phase, and you're going to see a lot of teams now start to move from that road leading out of Yasnaya down towards the school and apartments area.
Monarch's already been knocked. Here is Pittsburgh Knights are going to take that fight with Method 7, going to spray down Everfury, keep his teammate in the game. So I believe there was a solo operator from Method just getting caught out here by a rotation from Pittsburgh Knights, and it just went poorly for him.
Wildcard going to be spotting out the members of VN1. Zeus with a nice knock on his behalf as Pittsburgh Knights continue to look around, utilizing this high ground to try to spot out some of the other members of Method that are currently making that rotation just to the south of where they saw one of their teammates die. Everfury is indeed out of the game. Steamy, Pride, and Clay are left to carry on, and all 3 are packed like sardines inside of the same Dacia trying to bomb here into Razak, where previously the members of Lights Out held. Lights Out has moved out. It's going to be completely open for any team to take up at least shelter inside, and the Prio building is going to be calling out Method's name. This is one of the strongest compounds to hold on to when you still have the river in play and might have to make a quick transition across and over towards the north.
But they're going to be doing it with 3 members. They've already lost one of their teammates, Everfury being the person to go down. So we see Silent Knights rolling up on a compound here and denying potentially where Unnamed wanted to go. They probably spotted out Silent Knights over there, Silent Killers, and realized that they're not going to be able to take that compound for themselves, and they may have to fall back onto what and settle with what they've already got.
Certainly this hill that Unnamed is positioning themselves around has also drawn a lot of battle across the days of competition here, but Unnamed will be taking casualties. Ulysses going to be spotting out the knock. Miski and Bill trying to figure out how they can recover off of this, but Shoot to Win, they're going to be swarming atop the hill. Grenades going to be coming out, smoke grenades, to try to provide concealment for Raven to pull back behind that car and hopefully get some cover. But Shoot to Win is on a rampage. Rafa, Ulysses, Lopez going to be swarming around the northeastern side of this hill to try to catch the members of Unnamed off guard.
Wrapping around to try and find Raven and get that flush on. They're going to spray through the smoke. Grenade being primed up by Psycho. Cooked for a little bit as well as it goes in deep and going to get a knock onto Raven. It's going to finish him off. Bill still around in that smoke. Doesn't want to move here. As we can see, Max and Miski taking cover behind. They're going to have to cut their losses here. Raven been flushed out of the game. Shoots a win, dealing with this quite well here. Bill has healed up in the smoke, so if he needs to make a run for it, he's got the right position to do so. It's still not the favorable decision, as Lopez going to toss another grenade in there, and Bill has to get up and move and get away from the smoke. Will move around it, and he's just going to drop another smoke on top of him to try and conceal his path. It looks like he's going to make the escape here. He's not going to be going down. This is a nice play here by Bill and the rest of Unnamed to recover from what could have been a devastating situation.
Teammates showing their support by throwing out smoke concealment as well as shoot to win pulls off of this hill. They picked up their kill, they got their point, and now disengaging entirely to get to a safer location. They don't want to be wide out into the open with so many areas of approach by enemy teams. Wildcard, though, they're over here. They're at least off to the west of where another team is currently positioned. It's going to be the Misfits, I believe, off to the southeast, and then Pittsburgh Knights off to the northeast as well. But one team in particular, Unnamed, still lies in wait inside of that building and might have the lines of sight onto this hill that Wildcard is currently on.
Ranger keeping eyes on what he can see in the distance. Next circle shift coming in, forcing it further south, really centering around that school and not the school location, sorry, it's further up. Yeah, it is school, sorry, my mistake. Going to focus around that particular area. Silent Killers have that central location, and all those teams in the north now have to make that rotation across that river where they've carved up the map so far.
Southern half of this phase is completely wide open. Two teams that were playing Edge previously have found themselves in ideal positions inside of the zone. BlindedByWin, Lations Unidos, but BlindedByWin is on the move right now, possibly in the direction of where Matias and the rest of that Lations Unidos squad have at least held down for right now. BlindedByWin, though, on the map, you can see them moving back to the edge of the zone. This is their strategy that they want to play out, and we'll have to see if it's effective for them continuing through the mid game. But everyone is now starting to move through Razak, a team that moved in here, Method, and secured that compound on top of the hill. We'll be spotting out Lights Out, trying to caravan their way through as Lucifer picks up some big air off of Raz Hill.
There's VM1 going across the hay bales, the wide open fields. They've got their duo in tow behind them, getting a little bit knocked, but not to be deterred too much. Heading towards the territory Revenants once occupied, as they're actually moving themselves right now. HQA and Lights Out might be having a standoff here, as they're occupying the apartments over to the east of school. Reinforcements from Lights Out coming in. You can see Sega and Outsider 9K in the vehicles to come and back up Memo and Lucifer. HQA now need to be conscious of this fact. It's going to open up onto Outsider 9K. Won't find a knocker. Wow! Michael actually finds it on the back end with one of the final bullets. But he's in the safety of the building, so he should be able to get recovered from this one.
Yeah, unfortunate for Lights Out, the positioning that they've taken up here inside of the apartments is the low ground relative to the position that HQA is currently sitting in. You can see the Michaels just spraying out of the third floor window, trying to connect again onto Outsider 9K to get the flush. But all four of Lights Out have now found themselves into the northeastern apartment in this compound. But again, take note, the members of HQA, they've got the rooftops to work off of. No roof on top of Lights Out building, as Yafei going to be pushing up a little bit closer, riding into the centralized apartment. And grenades continue to fly. Pressure being applied, just trying to push back the members of HQA so that Outsider 9K has a safe opportunity to fully recover from that knock.
Grenade was overcooked slightly there by Lights Out. Exploded before he even got near the building, so no impact being done there. But Rain and the rest of Wildcard got eyes on Ace Esports right now, and taking a few shots so far. Pro DJ probably got knocked as he's just been rezzed up to the right amount of health. We'll look for the recovery even further as Rain, with this Car 98, looking to find some pop shots on the M4 on Zeus. Looks down, he might see a pop out there. He's going to take the shots as well to follow it up. Not going to find a connection, takes cover himself. Airs on the side of caution with this one.
Continues to try to spray in the prone position around the wall to try to get a pre-fire onto one of the members of that squad. But the kill feed Lights Up. Lights Out going to be taking casualties in the apartments. Huge nades coming out as Wildcard continues to try to pin down the members of Polar Ace Esports off to the east. Illusions and the rest of Wildcard are going to likely be pulling back. But Siphon, HQA going to be swarming into the building, finds the final kill on the Outsider 9K. And Lights Out only has maybe one member remaining. Mark that too. Sega trying to push up the stairwell, going to get knocked as well. And they have to worry about HQA. Now, HQA taking casualties as well. Michael and Dwayne going to be the only members up. Quang, sorry.
They managed to deal quite handily there with Lights Out. We're being the first squad to go down in 16th place. So HQA going to salvage this one, get all members back into the game. Not a single flush on that side as well. Fantastic for them to recover from what should have been a potentially lethal fight against Lights Out.
Yeah, you almost expected a little bit more out of that engagement, but it was a quick quick end for the boys of Lights Out. As the next phase pops up, we're going to be going a little bit to the north off of our previous circle central point, and Wildcard going to be finding themselves on the edge of that far northern play. A lot of teams still in the center. And a road dissects this circle a little bit. The northeast and southwest going to be essentially split, and that's wide open territory. Should teams have to cross over that, they are likely going to have to employ some type of utility to safely get there.
Just jumping into the center of that circle, Lations Unidos and BlindedByWin driving in over from the northeast area. The circle forcing it up even further around the apartments area. But here's Revenants, yes, what am I saying? Misfits, taking a fight with them is looking to force into the house, taking fire from the outside, so need to get in there nice and early. Low HP bars, they all swarm at the same time. Coordinated offensive coming out from Misfits. They're going to clean up the Revenants and take over this building for themselves.
I've enjoyed watching Misfits play today because they haven't been getting those circles like we've said, but they've been playing off of it, a different strategy, but yet they still capitalize up on top of that, sending Revenants off of this, a full disengage. Thankfully for Revenants, they were able to do so. They still had two members, Espinoza and Tanker, that were able to get to that Dacia and then pull back now behind the Defilade across the road. But now they've opened themselves up to lines of sight from several other teams, Pittsburgh Knights as well as one other. That's going to be, I believe, Shoot to Win. That might be looking their direction. But HQA holds on to the apartments. Method now stuck in a shack and then wide open in between Silent Killers as well.
This is an obscene amount of teams for a circle this small, Squire. 15 teams remaining, and it's only going to get worse for them as they get more condensed and congested. You can see Ignite Gold making a rotation across the horizon on your screens right now, but they're going to head straight into the path of HQA. And they should know that the team's in this apartments area right now. They haven't spotted them out, actually. They've gone further over to the west. They've heard the cars, so Zephon's going to reposition and see what he can find, but they've already gone. So Ignite Gold get away with murder at this point.
Yeah, this has been one of the most passive games of PUBG Mobile that we've seen throughout the entirety of the past 3 weeks of the Club Open. But again, this is sort of telling of how competitive this lobby has become. A lot of teams really recognizing that they've got to get those placement points, and so shying away from these full commits in terms of engagements. You see the position that Method is now stuck in, albeit safe inside of phase number 4, but it's not going to be safe in terms of if they have to make a move. Continuing on here in this game, HQA off to the west of their position, Silent Killers inside of the compound to the northeast. And wide open area, Method already popped out a ton of smokes, trying to stay concealed, trying to avoid any of those shots coming in, and you have to wonder, Trid, what more do they have inside of those backpacks?
I don't know, and it's going to be dictated by this next circle. Put it up on the screen right now for us. Let's have a look at what's going on as that circle is going to pop and dictate where all these 15 teams are going to go. Already HQA making a rotation into the circle. They assume something else, but that circle's gone all the way over to the north. A lot of teams are going to get congested right in there. Look at how many teams are going to have to fight for some real estate on this next phase, Esquire.
I was trying to tell you all at home what exactly a hard shift was. We'll take a snapshot of this because that's a hard shift. The lines of the next zone are touching the lines of the previous blue zone, and well, teams are starting to make those moves. Unnamed in a centralized position. They haven't moved off of that hill where we saw some of the members of Shoot to Win engage on them previously, but HQA is going to be bombing, and are they going to be able to find a safe area to bomb onto? Shoot to Win also on the move, hearing shots on their right and left, going to continue to send them as north as possible to try to find an entryway on the northeastern side of the zone.
They want to wrap around, but they may be running straight into a team. Ace Esports up on the high ground right now, able to hold that position. Look at the breach coming in here. HQA just running straight into Unnamed. They've already got 2 knocked. Look at the final max as they spray onto Yiffy as well. And what's going on? They're unable to get the kills. I don't know what's happening. I'm assuming that Yiffy and the rest of HQA are able to fight this one, but they got 1 flush so far. Managed to get Zephon back into the fight. 2 flushes. 1 down. Only Zephon to remain so far. Goes for the spray around the corner. Miski gets the knock. Looking for the flush as well. 1 more member of Unnamed is alive. And they're looking to find him. He's on the outside. First aid kit for Zephon. 1 down for Unnamed. And we're looking, I believe, on Max to try and salvage this one. But BlindedByWin coming for the door as well. They're going to get third-partied. But they have to cut that short because Woods has already gone down into the prone. Zephon holding this angle as the rest of BlindedByWin are looking to get on this engagement.
HQA is saying, we did not invite you to this party, but BlindedByWin going to be charging in as the uninvited guest. Now going to be trying to spray down, but Woods going to be connected on Zephon. Sprays him out with the M416. Finds the first connection, but can he reset to find the other threats of BlindedByWin?
Woods is on the outside looking to get in there. He's going to chase it behind him. Spray comes around. around. There's too many members though, and they will get that drop and the flush on the HQA, removing them. Max is hiding up in the attic, and he's got to be panicking right now because he's heard all that gunfire, and there's a squad directly beneath him. But has he done enough to stay quiet enough for them to not be alerted to his presence?
Oh man, he's going to be bleeding out as well, and that's an unfortunate position for Max to be in. Bill,
where's Bill?
Bill, he's outside of the compound, a little bit off to the west. He's hiding in the other building that shares in this compound, and he's the insurance policy at this stage of the game. He's essentially got to wave goodbye to his teammates and maybe try to stay a little bit silent, but he's not going to be silent whatsoever. He spots out Ulysses of Shoot to Win with the Mini 14, finds the connections, but is not able to secure the kill just yet. Everyone's going to be lighting up the kill feed. Misfits, Percason's going to be spotting out the members of G6. Yayo going down.
And then look at this southeast flank. There's so many teams trying to force him from this particular area. BlindedByWin doing good work here to get a compound for themselves. Bill exactly the same for now. But it is uneven, and Misfits taking shots at Pittsburgh Knights. And then down to the hill, they got G6 and VN1 as well. Clay going to drop down to the play area. BlindedByWin taking a fight with Ace Esports right now. Lushy going to get dropped down by Ran. Skizzo also finding himself in a bit of difficulty. Pittsburgh Knights are in a crater, a divot in between 4 different squads right now of varying size. They do have the majority of members, and they've formulated a mobile compound for themselves, but they're not in that next area, Squire. They're going to have to rotate further north.
Yeah, Pittsburgh Knights, they hear all of this commotion. They've got, thankfully, some vehicles to work off of. I want to see the members of this squad just bomb it in and get out of Dodge, because no one down here to the southeast is going to be able to work their way through this meat grinder without taking casualties, and that's just the least that you're going to be looking at. But here it is, the shift coming. Pittsburgh Knights heeding my advice. They're going to be full sending it, but they're bombing into the compound where we previously saw BlindedByWin take over. And are they going to be able to keep up this resistance? Can BlindedByWin defend this compound? Sure enough, we know that they can take it.
We need to get on the ground level of this one because a lot of action is going to pop off real quick. You can see that rotation coming in fast from Silent Killers. They're going straight into Bill. Hector's holding the angle to try and deal with this one. Going to get a nice spray down there and finish off a member of Pittsburgh Knights. Perksas on the outsides, found Lations Unidos, going to go get the flush off the back of that knock. Angel just going to be dropped out there. You can see 2 more members of Lations Unidos hiding in the grass, moving forward. Here's Uneven on the hillside, dealing with BlindedByWin. 1 knock, but they have the safety to get them back into the game as they're going to push forward. Mateus actually found Perksas there, turned it back around onto Misfits after losing too many members to that engagement. Manny coming in for the reinforcement, the flush coming in on the Perksas as he approaches very closely. Uneven getting against that wall. BlindedByWin have the numbers to be able to push out on this one, but they don't have the courage to do so because there's so much action going on around him. But now Bill, oh, that's so unfortunate for him. Silent Killers have taken over this compound.
Oh, but VN1 comes in as well. So many different teams are presenting threats here, so Bill continues to at least stay alive for the time being on the second floor of that building. Silent Killers, they've not even begun to worry about what lies in wait on the second story because they're still too preoccupied with all of the shots coming in their direction. Felix, the rest of the crew popping out smokes, trying to get concealment, but VN1's Ran is facing off against a ton of damage, going to be ultimately knocked as the rest of Silent Killers continue to look on, possibly spotting out Wildcard on the northern side of the circle. Wildcard all alone. They've got a dominant hold. They've got the high ground to essentially look down to the south and possibly pick off enemies as they see them. But Bill is moving. Certainly audible cues given out to the members of Silent Killers that there is a threat up on top. Duck going to be spotted out. Dilly with the VSS finds the kill.
Here's Manny laying down some suppressive fire on the Ace Esports. Sitting in the smoke right now. They've still carved out that same compound they have for themselves. Pro DJ going for a lurk around the corner. 2 guns pointed at that window, and Manny has to take cover away from that one as the recovery and the stims are being popped. 7 squads alive coming into this next phase. Phase number 7 about to pop. And you can see that circle forcing all those teams closer together.
This is the product of a fairly passive early to mid game, having so many teams collapsing onto a small phase all at the same time and taking casualty after casualty after casualty as Ranger going to be spotted out. Mraz from Silent Killers with the M16 finds the knock and now tries to worry about Rain and his teammate Zeus up while they're on the hill, but the return fire comes out, the damage being applied, forcing Mraz back behind the corner.
This is Wildcard's game, Esquire. They have the next circle, and it's a hard shift. All of them are going to be heading over. Look how many teams are going to be fighting with each other without having to worry about this damage coming in from Wildcard as they make the aggressive push towards that next circle.
Wildcard's up there in the circle ordering their appetizer for their chicken dinner that they're about to get, Trid.
They even gifted a crate as well. They're getting everything.
Let's just give it all to Wildcard. That's what they're saying. Just keep gimme, and let these other teams face off against one another, and we'll just pick off whatever is left, trying to cross this wide open area that now Wildcard has free reign on. They're going to be spraying down some of the members of Silent Killers that have to exit out of that building, but they also need to be aware of what lies in wait on the eastern side, or what's going to be moving, rather, not lying in wait at all. Smoke's coming out. Silent Killers have the concealment concealment to work off of to possibly cross the road, but they're going to be under fire. Illusions with the M416 finds
Vane
out
as well.
Mraz.
There's Manny getting dropped down. Look at the distance. It's so easy for Wildcard to pick off all these skirmishing teams and just loosen out the pack. You've only got 3 squads remaining right now. A lot of members down, but look at this crash coming in from Silent Killers. They're just going to get murdered. It's murder on the field, Esquire. There's nothing they can do about it. Illusions. They got 4 members on their squad alive. Arx is about to be finished off. It's just Hector remaining. And there's not much that little man can do against 4 members of Wildcard.
Yeah, we're going to need an investigator from the gaming committee to come in because, yes, Wildcard's slogan is stack the deck, but the odds are way too far into their favor. They have dominated this game and are likely going to be walking away with a W. 2 teams left. Hector now resorting to a med battle. Doesn't know that he's already secured second place, but will be going out with that. Regardless, a huge, huge victory inevitable for the members of Wildcard.
Just going to keep tanking on that Blues. Nothing we can do about it. He's even playing outside the circle right now. Can't hear the gunfire. He has to know at this point, Esquire. Popping all the meds he can. Going to peek out, try and get some extra points here, potentially from a flush. Hector not going to find anything as the bullets come in and seal the deal. Wildcard Gaming take away their second map win of the evening.
And 16 kills to boot, their second chicken dinner. First game of the day, they walked away with the win and 9 kills. But they continue on. Wildcard, they're chasing Misfits on those leaderboards. They say it's our time to shine, and we're going to be taking it.
Absolutely, what a fantastic performance from them. The gods shine their rays down upon them and bless them in the final circles of the game. But they made it work. They played it right. Wildcard Gaming walk away with the second map win of the evening. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're bringing you our final map. It's round 2 of Erangel.
Welcome back, everyone, to day number 3 of the PUBG Mobile Club Open Semifinals for North America. We're almost done with day number 3. Well, one more game exact to be played. We're going back to Erangel. But, Trid, I think we absolutely have to discuss that previous match. It was a banger for sure.
It was a slow starter, and it just escalated from there. A few early skirmishes coming in to kick things off, but there were so many teams, 15 squads alive as we were entering into the final phases, and it just exploded all at once and just got so chaotic. It was unable to keep up with all of the action. It was HQA dealing with a lights-out engagement in apartments and moving over into that newly formed phase 4 set.
Yeah, this is essentially where it all started, the snowball of destruction. Across a map that has no snow on it whatsoever, well, HQA was always at the heart of engagements, and we've seen that throughout the day. But some pretty crazy compound crashes that we saw come out. Misfits clearing out this one, and then, well, this was a crazy one.
Yeah, things are going to pick up eventually, but it's just Zethan coming in here with casualties, of course, as he's clearing out and getting the flush onto Unnamed Bill. Hector holding the line here, easy to pick up his kills. He just jumps through the window, BlindedByWin dominating that compound. Dark biting off a little bit more than he could chew here. Took a couple of shots at Polar Ace Esports, but Dilly's aim was true and he finished him off.
Final moments, Hector trying to go out with the bang, unable to do so, and gives another point over to Wildcard. Could have gone for the deny. Ultimately, we don't know how impactful that would have been, but certainly he was playing it like there were other teams alive, just trying to salvage a second place finish whichever way he could. But he got it regardless, so good job.
He didn't have the information to know that there was a full squad and only a full squad remaining. That's why he went for the heal rather than just try to deny and die to the blue zone. Lining up onto that next map, though, we're jumping onto Erangel, like we said, for a second serving. Now, let's recap of where people were dropping, because we had to look at Pochinki, and we had an early team engagement. We expected Unnamed to go there. Pittsburgh Knights tried to try and carve away some territory, but they weren't the most successful at doing so.
Well, one night, to be exact. He was the only one in that town, and that was kind of questionable. We were curious as to why they opted to do that, because they didn't need to. And we saw the other members of the Knights very spread out along that Pochinki area with fields separating them.
But they were able to yoink away a vehicle from Unnamed, which did potentially harm their rotation paths. May have caused them to be a little bit late. But enough speculation about the drops. We're getting ready to spot them. This is our final map of the night. We're jumping into Erangel once again.
And here we are, playing path a little bit different than what we saw in game number 3. Favored certainly down towards the southwestern region of Erangel. So any of our teams that want to reach over there to the far northeast, we saw one to be exact, I believe it was VN1, that sprinkled themselves around the Stahlborough area. We had Lations Unidos over in Lipovka. They're going to have a bit of a stretch ahead of them. They could find vehicles and make their way there, but again, you have to consider how much time are we taking out of our post-loot rotation. That is all so important. Teams already jumping out, shoot to win, going to be gliding along wherever they can find. Lations Unidos out of the plane as well. And I'd be surprised if we didn't see the Misfits go back to Sanhok proper.
Seems to be their port of call when they drop out here, but everyone seeming to get their locations quite early. We sure shoot to win, take over Nova's usual haul of Novo. We should go back over to them again. I see Pittsburgh Knights jumping out at the same time as Unnamed. Unnamed making a beeline for Pochinki. Pittsburgh Knights not as adamant on that line, so I don't know if they are going to be going back over there again, even with that solo Knight they sent in last time.
Already seeing another shift as well. Wildcard doesn't seem to be migrating over there towards the Milta Power area to the east. They've since now dropped in the center and are going to be gliding their way north near that Potato Hill that is off to the east of Pochinki. So keep your eyes on that. It could certainly be interesting as we see phase number 1 pop. We're going west once again. If you thought we were going to get eastern circles here today, well, you would be absolutely wrong, as we're already starting to see some early engagements pop out. Well, I believe it's Ace Esports that has found some enemies. They're going to be taking some shots, but also Revenants are dangerously nearby to that crossroads just outside of Milta. North of that eastern bridge, silent killers have to be hyper aware here.
Pittsburgh Knights taking that engagement with Polar Ace Esports nice and early, as we've already pointed out. But here's BlindedByWin taking a few shots, or looking to take a few shots at Memo. Only a pistol to his name. Even BlindedByWin's getting involved. Man, he has that pump action for Woods, so he needs to get a little bit closer to find an effective range on that one. But just trying to make that rotation path out of this current engagement. BlindedByWin trying to disengage because they are severely under loot.
You know, it's that motto. You miss all of the shots you don't take, and You know, that's
You
the only
miss
thing.
all of the shots you do take.
That's really all you can say about that. Oh, come on, Trid. Come on. You can't take anything away from his efforts there. E for effort, but certainly that does not get you any points here in the Club Open. And again, guys, if you're interested in the Club Open, want to find some more information about that, standings should likely be updated before the end of the evening or at the latest by tomorrow. So make sure to check that out, clubopen.pubgmobile.com. Looking over here, though, into Pachinki, this was one of our question mark areas. A different team, not the Pittsburgh Knights, has entered into the mix here and giving Unnamed a bit of a run for their money. Ignite Gold has the western side of Pachinki locked down, but Unnamed, they've at least taken up a little bit more territory. Eastern side secured, but Raven's got a hold on the south.
Ignite Gold actually did this yesterday when Nova decided to rotate over. No, it wasn't Nova. There was a team that rotated over to Pachinki. Tempo Storm. They were trying to gate crash on those guys, and didn't work out best for them. There's more engagements happening around the map. That Ace Esports Pittsburgh Knights engagement still happening just around the Gatka area. It's starting to pop off a little bit further, but I do believe that Pittsburgh Knights have got themselves the edge in this one. They're spraying it down there. Dilly's just going to be flushed out, and that's Ace Esports going out in 16th place.
Bit of a shift from where we saw them end in game number 3 here on Erangel. I believe Polar Ace was able to stretch into the at least top 5 positions in that game. 0 points is what they're walking away with here, though, in this game, and 4 kills already going the way of Pittsburgh Knights, but they're not without casualties. Pittsburgh Knights lost 1 member in the process, and when we pop back over here to Revenants and Silent Killers, Chris and the rest of the crew likely going to be departing, not wanting to engage on 2 members. I mean, sure enough, there's more for them to do here in this match. Oh!
Espinoza got the pumpy, wants to put it into Felix as he takes a shot or 2 at him. Will chunk his health, but not going to find a knock, not going to find a flush. Espinoza going to be cleaned up quite handedly here.
I almost would have liked to have seen Espinoza just lie in wait and ultimately take the shot once he's been exposed. A pump shotgun is not going to be putting out a ton of damage. You saw him make the connection, but it only took away about 60% of the HP as Pittsburgh Knights now find themselves in another engagement, this time with another squad. Lights Out is who they're going to be knocking down, but Unnamed continues to be diligent here inside of Pachinki, making sure that they don't miss sight on any of the members of Ignite Gold.
It's Monarch and the rest of Pittsburgh Knights still trying to secure this area. Circle just about to start moving inwards now, and that's going to slowly force all these teams in the southeast quarter of this map over. You see Lights Out on the free-seater, making their way to the northeast. They could run into G6 in their current path, just west of Roshawk, where the rest of them are moving up to. They need to be cautious of where the rest of these teams are.
Shoot to win over here in the Novo area all alone today because Nova is not playing here in these groups, so they at least took that information and found themselves a high-tier loot drop to pick up whatever they need to carry them through this game. But Trent, I'm starting to at least look at some of the rotations that have to come out from this eastern side of the map. Certainly Shoot to Win is one of those teams that has to make the rotation from east to west. But there are about 4 other squads, and you have to wonder how many different rotation paths are these teams going to be able to find that avoid conflict. Some of them might be at least going through a bit of a gauntlet to find that next location here inside of phase number 1.
Misfits taking the Western Bridge out of Military Island, as they always do, entering them straight into the circle. And the southern portion of this new area is relatively untouched. They have a lot of room to play with here. Just about how much of it has been looted on the rest of these teams' path all the way up to the north. Shoot to Win, probably going to mount up and do the same pretty soon. As Misfits looking to find a slightly more central position. They carry on their current path. They could end up clashing with Pittsburgh Knights. HQA and VN1 in that South George area, and the containers occupying the same space, but they're staying well away from each other for now.
So I want to go back to that Misfits rotation and sort of talk about sort of the predictability of that team. Sure, one of the top competitors here in this lobby, and as we progress through this tournament, once we're into the regional finals, only 2 teams can move on into the global finals from North America, and you have to wonder if any teams are going to try to gatekeep the Misfits from making those drops again, maybe waiting for them on that western bridge when they make the cross from south to north. Again, predictability is certainly not something that you want to be having, and Misfits haven't really had to adjust off of that. I would bet that Misfits have a plan B should they have to face off against any type of resistance in that regard, but it's just something to sort of keep in mind as this tournament continues on.
Misfits getting into the divot of Gatka, just locking down this area for now. I believe they did spot out the Pittsburgh Knights, so they're playing this one a little bit slower, dropping down this area for now and pivoting off. But it is a very central location to hold in the first place. Just enables a lot of circling and high ground to be able to be played around them though, so I don't know how advantageous this position actually is, but it does keep them out of LOS of a lot of teams looking on the horizon.
You know what we call this position, Trid?
What do you call it?
I'll give you one guess.
The crater.
No, we call it chopsticks. If you see them on your mini-map, well, it certainly looks like two chopsticks at an angle down towards the south. And again, you know, this area of the map, it presents at least some defilade for the members of Misfits to work off of. In the late game, if the circle starts to shrink around this area, you might see some full teams bombing in vehicles trying to find a safe haven in these aqueducts inside of the chopsticks. But again, they will meet the Misfits, and a lot of ammo will be expended trying to find those kills. Looking around here, Pittsburgh Knights dangerously close to these chopsticks areas, off to the northeast, holding onto those yellow houses. That is also a dominant position given this circle that we're looking at. The centralized positions, again, Misfits always goes there. But Wildcard is certainly in a difficult position. One member of Wildcard, to be exact, Rain on the northern side of this warehouse where most of the members of this squad of silent killers are currently holding on to. They're not aware of his presence either, Trid.
You spoke a lot about earlier about how these rotation paths are limited. Looking at the eastern side of this circle, so many squads are coming through this tight canal. Some teams are opting to use their resources to wait a little bit longer in the blue to avoid the conflict that surely will hit them in a second. You can see Rain holding down, keeping an eye on silent killers. But the rest of his team, Wildcard, are currently tanking that blue. Now they can do so. It's relatively weak on this first ingress. They need to be more cautious about moving in. They don't want to constantly be chasing and playing edge. They want to get control of something early. Lations Unidos, they're heading in as fast as they can. And we actually see Revenants in that Yasnaya area. They're going to be late to come in as well. Circle going to centralize, but here's BlindedByWin taking a few shots at Shoot to Win. But only one of them can take the latter part of their name. Psycho will get the knock onto Manny as well, onto Hector. That's two down right now. Woods needs to pop off, so does Arx. It's not looking good for them as Arx is the only active member remaining. The flushes have already come in, and Woods finally going to be finished off. Arx hiding in the grass, tanking blue for now. Psycho just taking a fight he really should not have, as Arx going to find the knock and flush. Shoot to Win only has one active member now. It's Martin. But Lopez going to be coming in here already. Arx has turned it around again. What is Shoot to Win playing at?
The Ants go marching one by one is essentially what they're playing, and it's not working out for them at all. Shoot to Win is getting destroyed by a solo player, and they knew it, and they continue to push into it. Martin going to be doing the exact same thing at this stage of the game. You have to ask, Martin, maybe you need to disengage. Maybe you need to get out of here and play for placement, but he wants revenge. He wants to be able to stick it to the members of BlindedByWin who have ripped through his squad. Arx, though, he's in the pro position, has been spotted out. Damage going to be connecting, dropping him down to 20% HP, but Arx has that mobile cover to hide behind. Martin has the shack as well, and this battle will continue on at least for a few seconds.
Arx ultimately holds the advantageous position here. He's got high ground, he's got the circle furthest away from him as well, so if this goes on for too long and it moves into the next phase, he's still going to have someone press onto him. Resources being expended to heal up now. Rafa will get knocked. There's that circle coming in quite fast, and Arx needs to start healing up. Are they going to go for a med battle to try and force the hand of the other as the bandage comes in? Martin's not looking to move here, as they're just stimming up. Martin, I think, has got more resources to boot, so if Arx is going to go into a war of economics, then I think Martin comes out ahead on that.
He's like, hey, move! No, you move! No, you move! Well, someone has to give. Someone's got to at least depart from this situation.
Smoke going
and
out.
Arx is not going to be moving. He's got the backside of the shack ultimately covered. If Martin tries to peek, he's going to be greeted with some nice 5.56 rounds to the face. And here it is. The nade's starting to come out. Arx is getting a better idea as to where Martin's position is.
Ooh,
the AoE damage coming out, going to be taking him down to about 45% HP. But it's not the fatal knock that he was looking for. Still going to be at least trying to get meds off as much as possible as another nade comes in off of the backside of the shack that might be connecting onto Martin.
Position. Going to move around the side, exposes himself, but goes back in quite nicely. I'm not going to lie to you, Squire. This is such a dumb engagement to take, because the longer they wait here, the further they have to travel, the more damage, the more resources they're expending. They may not even make it back to the area, even if they win out this battle, because it's just going to keep spending resources right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Very unfortunate that Shoot to Win pushed into this like this and now have found themselves in this position. Someone's got to capitalize on it because, like you said, Trid, both of these teams are losing a lot in the process. Two teams with now left to solo players to try to champion for their squads.
They have the med up.
Martin's going to drop. Can he get it off in time? He's trying to pull the force down.
Arx is trying to get the healing off. Arx might get away with this one.
He's only got bandages.
No, he's got a first aid kit to use right now in his inventory. but he's all about getting the bandages and trying to get into the area. He's got a lot of distance to travel, and he's going to have to do it on his foot. Those vehicles are toast.
Yeah, he is, for lack of a better word, pretty screwed.
Such a redundant battle.
Yeah, redundant is
I've
certainly...
lost brain cells, Esquire.
Redundant is a nice way to put it. I think you had it first on the dumb call. And again, that's just something you got to go back to the VODs and see how you could have played that better. So a learning experience for both of those teams here, and thankfully they do have another week of gameplay in the semifinal stages for North America coming up next. But the third phase has popped. We're going to be going down around this Ruins area. Everest, God Mountain going to be in play in the northwest. No one has taken up that high ground position just yet. The majority of the lobby favored down towards the southeast of that position.
As they're looking to get themselves into a better position. Unnamed, moving in on a vehicle. They got one ahead of them, not inside of one right now. Off to the side, Raven trying to get those shots onto Uneven. The rest of the vehicle will light up onto Misfits. Won't find him, and you can see the Misfits convoy immediately adapt and try and get as far away from this kill squad as they can. As they're opening up onto Xenof, he's the stray lamb at the back of the herd. And they're on the hunt, they're going mobile. Uneven's been knocked down by Pittsburgh Knights. They were so occupied with Unnamed, they forgot about Pittsburgh, and they paid the price for it.
Incredibly hard to land those shots from a moving vehicle, but they were able to at least tag some of the Misfits with that damage, helping out the members of Pittsburgh Knights that have ultimately found some knocks onto the Misfits squad. And again, Misfits, you might be asking, I thought they were right next to the Pittsburgh Knights a few minutes ago. Well, they tried to rotate off, and once they faced off against the likes of Unnamed, they turned right back around and did not find anything at least advantageous for them to pull up to. As Unnamed going to be stopping here on this bit of defilade, not a bad position for them to be in off of the western region of where the members of the Pittsburgh Knights are holding on to, but they're seeing themselves face off against a lot of damage and not a lot of cover to work off
smokes. Immediately just deploy all the smokes they can. They're very close to Misfits, who have this area locked down now, and they're gonna have to pop out those smokes to stay alive. Pittsburgh Knights over in the distance, you can see them already. Losing Uneven was detrimental to them right now. They're playing with free because he got flushed out by Pittsburgh Knights, who are looking poised to move forward on this high ground advantage that HQA have over Method. Maybe have to lock them down if they have to make a rotation into the next phase.
Interesting to see this. You do see Lucifer from Lights Out just off of the hillside of where HQA is now positioning themselves. And they're not many members of Lights Out near him. He's going to be pulling off of this entirely. You see the car off in the distance with the X-ray vision, trying to make their way over to the northeast to reunite with their teammates. But HQA, they're picking up a ton of information from this vantage. Again, it's hard to get kills from this area. It's hard to secure those flushes once you get the knocks, but at least a bit of an engagement going to continue to pop off here. This was the worry when the team of Unnamed pull up to that bit of defilade. Pittsburgh Knights have great lines of sight over towards the west to possibly put out the damage and find some knocks. Unable to do so, but the pressure has been applied, securing a buffer zone around their compound.
Circle coming in. Nearly going to pop that next phase. Grenades going over from Xenof as Duck will get a knock onto Raven from Unnamed. So their position not as secure as they think it was. Xenof not quite finding the range on that grenade, but Duck will go ahead and get the flush. Miski also knocked down here, so Unnamed falling apart right now from VN1. Taking long distance shots right now with those rifles and able to deal the damage to boot. There's not much they can do about this. They can't return fire adequately enough, and they're just sitting ducks right now. They try and move. Misfits or Pittsburgh Knights will surely deal the damage, but that circle popping up and hard shifting over to the northeast is going to put a lot of these teams in the southwest on their wheels very quickly.
Method has found themselves inside of the center of the circle with less than a full squad, so they're going to have to be very, very careful as to what will be bombing in on top of them, as VN1 already makes the move for that position. But Misfits also going to be departing the Chopsticks area. Again, not in play, and they've got Unnamed right in front of them, potentially as a gatekeeping position for both of these teams that also have to move. No one is going to be safe down here, and well, the Knights might be watching as well, trying to spot out some of these rotations from teams that they've at least been aware of for the most part of this game. Trid, they got to be careful, as they are making a lot of noise. Pyra and Percasauce just trying to get their vehicles up and out of this ditch, or just maneuver them to be a little bit more favorable for the disengage.
The grenades are coming in. You can see Unnamed really trying to challenge this one as they're looking to take out the vehicles. Destroyed one of them already. Percasauce has to move away from that. So he's still got a US at their disposal, but Unnamed dealing some damage before they're looking to depart themselves.
I don't know how PerkSauce survived that. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that
Misfits
out
magic!
there. Misfits magic, certainly. Now they're throwing Misfits grenades over back towards the direction of Unnamed, who's already pulling off this. But as they pull off and as they cross this wide open field, yes, that is what I was concerned about. Wi-Fi of the Pittsburgh Knights spots out this retreat and immediately starts to capitalize on it. But now the Knights have to be aware of this because another team, Misfits, are going to use this as their opportunity to move. And well, both teams could be in the lines of sight of PerkSauce, Zenith, and Pyra.
Wi-Fi is playing solo right now. He's definitely going for kill points. I don't know if he can survive both Misfits and Unnamed. They turn their direct attention towards him. So it's a bit of a gambit coming out for Pittsburgh Knights to try and accrue some more points. There's Sanhok taking the shots at Max. Will drop him down, finish him off, and there's not much that can be said about that now. Unnamed, down to 2. It's just Bill and Miski to try and survive.
And I mean, that was a kill steal right there. Wi-Fi risked his position to get the knock, was not able to secure it, gives the points and the information over to the Misfits, who can now use that to their advantage as they continue with this rotation. Trying to push their way north, they've at least got enough information to think that they're going to be safe in this, but they're moving very slowly, and so is Unnamed, and this works in their favor as they start to snake their way across this wide open field that separates them from the southern side of phase number 4. It's going to be difficult for them to do so because you still have to worry about what lies in wait inside of the circle, and that's exactly what Ignite Gold is worrying about because Lights Out are right there inside of Ruins, going to be looking their direction. Nades already coming out, smoke grenades to give Ignite Gold the opportunity to work off of this concealment to advance inside of the safe zone.
Boston's already been knocked in that fight. Here's Brand taking a few shots at PerkSauce, and Sanhok being knocked down as well. One more should seal the deal. They could just find Pyra. They're getting the flushes instead. Sanhok, a couple more shots should finish him off. They can see Pyra in the distance as well. There's the flush going in. Misfits down to 1 member remaining. It's the lone Pyra. VN1 are keeping an eye out for him.
The hard shift was essentially the nail in the coffin for Pittsburgh Knights, Unnamed and Misfits. Miski now going to be caught out, and the knock going to be coming. He's going to be dropped down. It's only a matter of time before the Mini 14 5.56 shots find the ultimate fatal blow. And there it is, another kill going over the likes of VN1, their 3rd so far of the game. But are they going to be aware that there's another player coming out of the blue zone? Certainly that was a knock on Unnamed. They don't know that it's Misfits. They could think that another member of Unnamed could be coming out of that area, but Pyra is taking damage, getting dropped down very low. Phase number 5 is in full effect, and that blue zone damage starts to become a little bit more than marginal at this stage in the game.
He's still in the distance. I'm hoping he's got a lot of resources to make this play work. So he's trying to make sure that VN1 move into the circle and ignore him. Rez coming in on to members of Ignite Gold. You can see Lights Out over in the northeast corner. Still Method holding down that central position. Finally, Pirate will go down to the play zone. He tried to get any extra positioning he could do, but that's going to be Misfits going out in 9th place. Sorry, no, in 12th place even worse for the Misfits. 11 squads remaining as these circles start to collapse even further.
Tough game for them, but tough transition for Ignite Gold as they continue to try to work their way in. Marv is going to be connected on with a beautiful nade coming out from Seagut, but there is one more member of this Ignite Gold squad to have to worry about, but Lights Out is going to be pulling off of this entirely. They know they've got to reposition. Next circle popped right up on top of Method, and a Lushy from G6 will be spotting out the members of Pittsburgh Knights. The lone member, that's going to be 7. You saw Wi-Fi dropped out a little bit earlier, a few minutes ago, and they've now ultimately found the final member of that squad. Out they go in 11th position. 10 teams remaining, 28 players alive as we enter into the late game. Method has to be absolutely dominant here inside of this compound. They can't let anyone approach and close that buffer zone out.
Wi-Fi must be a cat, Phil, because he's still alive.
Oh!
He's starting to rain down terror on silent killers. Pittsburgh Knights are not out of this one just yet. Spraying through the smoke, gets the flush on the Miraz. Rotates round, and now he's looking for Chris, but I don't know if he knows the precise location of that final member. But VN1 know exactly where he is, and they're going to send him down. Guess he ran out of lives, Phil.
Thanks, VN1, and thanks for taking him out and
correcting your mistake.
And correcting. No mistakes.
Yeah,
just taking him out. Thank you, VN1. Appreciate that. Silent Killers though trying to work their way in. Mitt's taking a lot of damage, dropped down to about 40% HP, and he's lost his teammates. He's got to find a way to at least crawl into the safe area in whatever way he can. And there's not a lot of cover. Definitely the hillside being his saving grace as VN1 starts to push up on the members of HQA, and Ignite Gold tries to work their way in. But a solo player, that's going to be team number 18, Lations Unidos, trying to vie for placement, could be spotting out Chaos.
He's going to be crawling into this next circle. Hasn't got the ability to be able to expose himself just yet. Revo's off to the side of him. You see Chris over to his left as well. throwing out the smokes preemptively to give himself some cover into this one. Chaos has to stand up and make a move now. He may have given himself away. Revo spotted him out definitely here. Gets the spray down onto him, ending Ignite Gold's hopes. But that audio cue is going to be fed over to someone else, so they know that they're not alone in that area.
Circle about to shift into phase number 6. Two teams on the western edge might be colliding in a bit of an engagement as they both now have to move into another hard shift off to the northern side off of our previous circle. Lights Out going to be on the edge northeast, Revenants on the edge northwest, Methods still inside of their compound, inside of the southern edge of the zone. And I'm not too worried about G6's position either. Keep your eyes, though, on Silent Killers, the solo player Chris. What can VN1 do? They were already going to be on the move, trying to at least crest over this hillside, but what they find atop the hill is going to be the squad of Method looking in their direction, and possibly even HQA as well, coming off of that western flank.
Yeah, Steamy still holding that location with Method down to the south of the circle. VN1 getting awfully close to him now. Look at him running up the hill right into the path of Method. They're fanning out as best they can. They've got Duck on Overwatch, but he's more interested in what HQA are doing, I think, rather than looking towards Method. But Ran knows something's up in that compound, assumes the worst, and gets some cover away from it. Starts rotating around to check the rear before they do anything aggressive.
Yafei still trying to at least look for any teams that might be coming over the crest of that hill as they pop into the vehicle with their teammate Zyphon, and they will be trying to at least advance their position over to the spot that Quang has secured, but they're going to be under fire. Duck spots him with the M416 and sprays out at least half of his magazine, trying to apply the pressure. Now spawning out the lone member, trying to at least reunite with his other 3 squad mates, Michael. And it's going to be Quang that ends up getting dropped down. The members of Lights Out have found the connections with the M416 and take him out, but Michael now trying to find cover behind the tree under fire from a different squad, has to be aware of his surroundings. Lines of sight presented by multiple different angles.
As they're keeping the pressure on HQA, Yafei over in the distance keeps poking his head out the corner. Might not want to do that against Duck. He's been pretty accurate this game. Probably wants to add a couple more kills to the total points. That circle has popped. We're still moving in. It's going to force those players further up the hill, closer to Method. Wouldn't worry too much about HQA though. They're fanned out across that western border. They're keeping themselves relevant in the game. Clay going to get a nice shot onto Kwang, drop him down, and then Clay is actually going to be finished off after he was dropped down. The N1 moving further up. They're going to start opening fire against Method's building and look to take this compound for themselves, but the return fire's already come in. They're going to go for the door. Ran knocked down. Go from the side. It's actually HQA third partying on this engagement. VN1 have to back off here. They can't commit to this one. There's too many people looking at this house. Grenades coming out. Pride will get the knock onto Ran. And this is not looking good for VN1.
Method needed to do a better job at keeping VN1 at bay. They let them get a little bit too close to this compound, and now they're starting to feel the hurt. Although they are putting out the damage onto VN1, it is still a threat that's going to be extremely difficult for them to eliminate without losing any more in the process. Other teams, though, trying to posture themselves inside of the zone as Lucas starts to throw out some grenade pressure, trying to find any members of Method. Finds the vehicle. Dacia going to be fully disabled now.
Grenade out behind him. Going to throw one in himself. Gonna get some damage, but nothing knocked out of there as the grenade goes into the house from Method. Lots of damage being distributed onto them, but still, no knocks coming out on that one. Next circle's pop is going all the way up to Revenants and Lights Out, so this engagement down here on the south, it's gonna be all for naught. You're fighting over territory, and it's no longer relevant. Duck gonna go to spray down onto Chris, and he's gonna find Silent Killers off to the side.
Silent is exactly what they were being, and found is exactly what they were, and taken out of the game is where they find themselves as Duck continues on. VN1 now spread out, trying to at least save the game. I think they've at least been aware of the situation that Lucas is going to have a hard time getting off of these crates with Method eyeing him down. But Pratt going to be knocked out from the hillside. Zyphon, HQA finds the connection. And can Steamy get up there without revealing his position to Lucas of VN1, who's still sitting there? But Lucas is taking a lot of damage. Zyphon continues to spot out the members of Method. Another one going to be going down. Zyphon is on an absolute rampage. A headshot on the Everfury, leaving, I believe, just one member of Method at least on their feet as they try to get these reses. They've got the cover to at least pick up the reses on their teammates and hopefully recover off the engagement.
Slow creep of the circle coming in. Yafei spotting out a Lushy. There's the knock. That's going to do absolute nightmares for G6. As Ethan keeping an eye on VN1. Finds Key, going to drop him down. Everfury pops off, and he's forgetting about HQA on this hill. Taking so much damage but won't go down. He should be able to get the res back in and try and get Method back in the game. VN1 Lucas will go down to the play zone. Everfury being dropped down by Jakob. Steamy crosses the way. Dropped down as well. Method have surely only got one member in this game still right now as they're crawling around looking to get the reses in that building. But the circle has chased up beyond them. They may have to cut their losses and try and get into center. But HQA locking it down. There's Steamy being taken out by HQA. They got the reses in for Method as they emerge out the building. Everfury's probably going to die here as Clay can only take cover for so long. He's popping out the corner. Pride's tanking blue. He's going to go down, and Zephyn's there to finish him off. And now he has to move himself because the blue has caught up to his position. Clay, the last member standing for Method, trying to crawl in and has got a respite because the teams have to reposition themselves.
Zyphon only has 2 kills to his name, but I'm pretty sure in the last minute or so he got about 10 knocks.
Yeah.
Method able to survive with 1, HQA with another misstep, playing a little bit too aggressive, sending out their solo, or rather one of the duo players, to try to secure all of those kills on top of Method. But G6 is going to be taking casualties, one of the only squads with numbers to their name. They've got all 4 alive, at least for the time being, but they need to recover. They need to pick the reses up as Yayo throws out some support cover fire up the hill, trying to spot out the members of Revenants. Method and the members of HQA completely untouched on the western side of the circle as Vigilante will be dropped down. Yakub with the M416 finds the connection. The flush comes out from Ozwi. Now they've got to worry about Peralta. It's a 1v1v1v4, and G6's game to lose here as long as they can just continue to kick the trades.
Phil,
pick up the flushes.
It would have been a 1v1v3 if it wasn't for that pan. It deflected one bullet that kept Lushy from being flushed. That's the difference the pan made. He kept him in the game. Now the shots are being set onto Peralta. He's able to take cover behind the tree and change up the angle to deal with G6. Next circle will be pushing everyone over to the Revenants player who has the angle behind this tree. Zephyn's going to have to start moving as well, as Zephyn actually opening up onto the fire, but he's drawn the aggro of Alushy, who's now back in the game. But Peralta gets the flush on the Yakub, reducing the numbers down to 3 men. As Peralta again going to look to clear out Clay. He's got Zephyn on his right flank, but he's got the members of G6 moving forward. Yaya and the rest of G6 have been removed. It's a 1v1 for Zephyn against Peralta. He gets up and charges the tree. Peralta takes away the final map of the evening and the week.
Trid, I don't even know what G6 did there.
Shenanigans, Esquire.
Shenanigans. Upsetting to see if you are a fan of the members of Granja Del Gaming. Unfortunately, they do go out in 3rd position, which could have likely been a chicken dinner for them.
It could have definitely been a chicken dinner.
It should have been. yeah. I mean, it should have been a huge misplay. Only solo players for them to have to worry about. And that's where the team synergy comes so much into play. Your comms just have to be perfect. You got to be calm, cool, collected when you got those numbers, Trid.
Well, they had the numbers, and like I said, it was impressive of Peralta to not get that kill there. Alushy staying in purely by the virtue of the pan blocking that final shot while he was knocked and denied the flush. And you'd expect, after coming back from such a hairy situation such as that, you'd think G6 would have more respect for their lives and be able to pull out the victory, but no. It was the member of Revenants. You had him up on the high ground. Peralta was able to fix the angles, take out Method. He took out HQA, and then G6 was the only team remaining he was able to do with them. Let's have a look at our schedule for the week and take a quick recap on what we've seen so far. And looking. Oh, well, the next week's schedule. We'll do that first instead. Coming up on your screens. We're going to do the exact same thing all over again. A versus B, A versus C. Close it out with B versus C. This is a double round robin in our semi-finals now that we only have 3 groups. But next week, though, we have a double helping of Erangel. Here's the results from this week's action.
All right, good matches on the day. Again, the scores will likely be updated by tomorrow at the latest. If you don't want to miss out on those standings, make sure to head on over to clubopen.pubgmobile.com. You can see the standings, you can see the rule sets, you can see what teams are participating and when, and find the VODs, the previous VODs over the last 3 weeks of this tournament. But Trid, if there's anything that this week of the semifinals showed us, the action should be even more exciting next week because more is on the line. Teams know exactly what they need to do to rank up the leaderboards and secure themselves in those top 16 positions to move on to the regional finals.
That's all for me and Phil for this week. We'll be back at the same time Friday, 8 p.m. PST, to bring you the conclusion of the semifinals and try and narrow down these teams further to find those top 16 going to the regional finals. You better be joining us to see out the end of this journey. I've been Trid, this has been Esquire. We'll see you next week.